fucking cups too? He comes in here with his people, he takes all my shit. Huh? That's what he does. Give me a hug, man. How you doing, big guy? Look at it. Look at it. He fucked up my backdrop. What happened to our stuff?
Sit down, Kev.
On it, but sure. So no, that's nice. Hi, Barry.
How are you, baby? Oh my God. I'm ready, Trev.
Is this how you dress every day?
This?
Yeah? How far do you live from here?
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. They make me drive so far because I do it because I sacrifice for my team. I'm in Calabasas, so it takes me an hour and 15.
You come in every day?
I come in when I'm here. Do I come in every day? Yeah.
So it's an hour 15 to come in.
Hour, like, because I'm leaving during traffic time. But if I wait, then it's like a 35-minute ride. No traffic, 35 minutes.
That's terrible. Are you gonna get a drone?
A drone?
Yeah.
Why am I getting a drone?
You haven't seen the drones that are coming out?
That you can fly inside?
They'll be coming out in a few years. There'll be little drones that you can fly in.
Why do I want to fly in a drone?
You don't want to be in traffic, Kev.
Why can't I just... Oh, wait, you talking like the drones are just like...
and then
you can
fly.
just go above
man.
traffic.
You're gonna be in a drone. I can see you.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you.
I promise you right now, you're gonna be in a drone.
If you're telling me that it's not going to fuck up my clothes... and I can get in the drone, I'll do it. If you're telling me I can get in the drone.
You know, most people would worry about their health.
No. They gotta come with some type of, they gotta have airbags. That drone gonna have an airbag.
I think they do, actually. I think they do.
Before we start, how's your tour shit going? Everything great?
It's going good, man.
Good for you, man.
Are you're back on now?
I'm warming up.
You're in like cooking mode.
Yeah,
no,
I'm
you're not
cooking.
warming up. You're in cooking mode.
It's good.
You can always feel. You know what's funny is you can always feel when a comedian is. So I feel like comedians have 3 stages. We have, will I ever be funny again? Then we have cooking mode where you're excited and you feel like everything's coming together.
Yeah.
And then you have, this material is boring. I need to find a new job.
That's at the end of.
Yeah,
I think that's like at the end of.
You want to tape just before that.
You gotta go, but that's why I always tape my special early though. Like when I'm.
Wait, what do you mean early? Like how early?
When if I'm on tour. Because, I'm probably 160 shows when I tour. So when I'm at when I feel the peak of the set, when I'm laughing at the joke.
160 shows?
I do a lot of shows, Trey.
Wow.
Because my process starts comedy clubs, theaters, back to comedy clubs, back to theaters, then I'll go arenas.
Wait, why are you going back? What happened? What went wrong?
Nothing went wrong, but you do it to make sure, like, all right, let me make sure I'm not jumping out the gun too fast.
Okay.
Because once you start killing in the theaters, that means I should destroy in a comedy club.
I remember talking to Dave years ago. There's a time when Dave Chappelle, for those listening, Dave never used to want to do arenas.
I did it.
And then he, I mean, obviously everyone wants to see him, so now he has to do bigger venues.
No, I
but
did
you definitely lose something.
I sparked the arena bug. And
Wait, you did
with
that?
Dave? Absolutely. I sparked it with Dave and Chris, right? I said...
So I blame you.
For Dave doing arenas.
Saying. Yeah.
And Dave, not only...
Do you prefer arenas?
I gotta be honest with you, Trev. I gotta be honest with you, man. I do. But
what?
Let me tell you why. Hear me out.
Go.
Hear me out why. And I bet when I say this, you agree.
Go.
And here's how I got Dave. It's how I got Dave bit with the bug. I said, listen to me, Dave. The beauty of doing the arenas when you're a good comic is turning the arenas into an intimate environment.
Okay.
You can turn it into...
You can get close. You can never turn it into.
Oh my God.
Kev, you can never turn it into.
Oh my God.
Kev.
Oh my God.
The thing about arenas is I always feel like the laughter's not happening in my section. Have you ever sat in an arena? You always feel like that section, you're like, who are those people?
Yeah, those people have a good time.
What jokes are they getting?
Yeah, they're having a good time.
They're really laughing. And then when you go there, they're not really laughing as loud as you thought. Because arenas have this weird, because the sound is not designed for laughter. It's designed for, the basketball game or the whatever game is supposed to play there. Whereas when you're in a theater, it always feels like every single laugh is coming from every single person, no matter where you're sitting in the room.
Can I tell? Okay, so this is where your friend Kevin Hart, the overthinker, goes ham. Okay, think about my production.
Yes,
I think about every aspect.
Excessive, I must say.
Very
excessive.
I mic the audience, so the same way you can hear me on a microphone.
You can hear the audience.
You can hear the audience laughing. So I'll probably do like 8 mics, maybe 8 to 10 mics.
So that the audience can hear the audience.
You can hear the audience.
Oh, I like that. So I need to find what section the mics are in so I can just shout comments in your show.
You can just shout out.
I can just
know
find
the mic is here, Kevin.
Shout things out.
I know you put a mic
You're
here.
a lot smaller in real life. Just shout things up to the microphones. I'll just be the guy heckling in a 10,000 seat arena.
I'm gung-ho on making that experience the best. But here's what you guys did.
You do love that.
But here's what you guys did.
You love being the best of the best of the best of like, you have this weird, where did you get that from, by the way? Did you play a lot of sport when you were a kid? Like you're ultra competitive.
Yeah.
But like you're ultra competitive as if you also played sports where you have to play against yourself.
That's the biggest person I'm competing against. Like I've never been competitive against my peers. I've been envious.
No, you're competitive against your peers. Come on, Kev.
I'm envious. I've never been competitive. I'm envious of my peers. And I've said to myself in my competitive nature, oh my God, man, that's such a good writer. Such a great writer, such a great joke teller, such a great storyteller. God, I got to get back in the lab. I gotta really raise the bar for myself because I'm so blown away by what this particular talent is put on display or what this particular talent is put on display. I'm envious of your political humor. I'm envious of how you can go in between political humor and then go into a space of travel, culture, different ethnicities, your stance and
You're far too kind.
I'm envious of that.
You're far too kind.
That's not my thing.
Right.
So the thing that others do at a high level, to be envious is the biggest compliment. That's the biggest compliment because I'm like, man, I wish I could operate like that because if I could, oh my God, that would be another dimension that I could get to.
Right, yeah.
I don't have that dimension, hence why I stay away from it. You don't see me ever doing political humor.
My favorite political bit of yours, and I know it wouldn't be considered political, but I think it was way more political than anyone would ever think, is the bit where you were talking about being sucked into a Black Lives Matter protest.
Black man in the middle with a bullhorn going off. Black lives matter, and if you don't think they matter, then you're part of the problem, and today we find a solution. The solution is death. Every black person that showed up here today is willing to die. We will all die today. We don't give a fuck about life. If you black and you here, it's because you came to die. If you black and you in this circle around me, it's because you ready to die first. I look down, I'm in the fucking circle. I said, wait a minute. That's not why I came. I didn't come for that. That's not why I'm here.
Can I tell you something?
True story.
But what I loved about that bit was, whether it was intentional or not, it told a very true story about how so many people get sucked into the allure of appearing to be what they're not. And now that speech that you gave.
You're in it.
I don't even remember. I just remember trying to repeat it to my friends. Yeah. It ain't go. What did you say? It ain't go.
You already know what it is.
Now I gotta give a speech. You ever say something, and while you're saying something, you realize you're not saying nothing, but you gotta keep trying to say something, even though you know it's nothing? That was my fucking speech. This is my speech, word for word. Verbatim, this is my speech. All right? Y'all already know what it is. And what it is what it's gonna be.
It ain't gonna be what it is till it ain't
gonna be what it
is. You win it. And I
still say that to my friends just randomly. I'll be like, hey man, it ain't gonna be what it is.
Yeah, it ain't what it was.
Yeah, man.
It ain't
but
what it is.
You know what it is.
That joke was so dope. For your people watching, listening. It was dope because, to my point, I don't do political humor at all. Yeah. But it was about getting sucked into the thing that you think you're supposed to do.
Yes.
And I was like, man, everybody around me, giving this thing energy, and I got a feeling about it. I'm going.
Can I tell you one of the hardest things I think people struggle with is, so one of my favorite movie scenes of all time, and I don't know why this left such an indelible impression on me, was, did you ever watch the movie Devil's Advocate?
Absolutely.
It was Charlize Theron, Al Pacino, Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
There's a scene in the movie. So the plot of the movie, for those who haven't seen it, and I'll spoil it because you're not going to see it, whatever, is basically Keanu Reeves plays this hotshot young lawyer. Keanu Reeves plays that lawyer. Charlize Theron is his wife, and they're this perfect couple. They meet Al Pacino. He's running this law firm. Turns out he's actually the devil.
The devil.
Yeah, and Keanu Reeves is basically litigating a case that is terrible, but because he wants to be this lawyer, he's going to do whatever it takes. The conversation is basically, what are you willing to trade? You're willing to trade your soul for everything. He doesn't do it in the end, but there's a moment where now he's the hero guy.
Yeah.
And then a reporter comes to him and says, can I do a profile piece on you? And he goes, no, I don't want fame. I don't want any of this. And the guy goes, come on, a lawyer with a conscience. Everybody will love it. And Charlize looks at him and goes, come on, baby. Come on, do it.
Like
and he goes, okay, I'll do it.
Just like that.
And they leave. And I'll never forget, the journalist turns into Al Pacino, looks at the camera, and he says a line that he dropped in the beginning. And he goes, vanity, my favorite sin. I've thought about, I don't know how old, I just went to watch that movie because there was nudity in it.
There you go.
Because at that time you couldn't freely get nudity.
No,
I don't know if you remember these days, by the way.
It was what I like to call it was accidental porn.
Yeah, you did not see nudity when I was growing up.
Yeah,
kids today, I feel bad for them because there's like a diminished joy in seeing nudity now.
Yeah, the random tit back in the day.
Are
was
you
huge.
kidding me?
Oh! Oh, pause it. That's crazy.
Oh man, you had pause.
Oh, what?
I had nothing.
I'm all about.
I had nothing.
Accidental porn back in the day.
We just saw it, and that was it. That was your moment. But so that movie came out. I wasn't old enough to go see it, so I remember I would sneak into. I don't know what movie it was at the time. So I'd always find a movie to sneak into that I could then go out into another. You know what I mean? Like the reason I've seen parts of Titanic so much is because I used to use Titanic to go and see The Matrix.
Okay. You use that. So you needed a clean movie to go see the bad movie.
You need a clean movie to go and see the bad.
Yes.
So Devil's Advocate, I couldn't get. But anyway, I remember that line. And for my entire life, what I've thought about is how hard it is to not get sucked into doing a thing that you may start off having good intentions doing, and then now stay in for the vanity side of it. And I think a lot of what people do in like, let's say people start off on social media or even in the world, they go, I'm gonna protest for a good cause. I'm gonna say these things online. I'm gonna get into it. It starts off from a good place, but then you get that hit. You get that little hit where someone's like,
the little piece.
You know, like you said, hey, short king, do your thing. Come on, we need, and you go like, oh, now you start finding reasons to do a thing that maybe you don't actually believe in because it's addictive, man.
Well, you're high off the feeling.
Yeah, it's addictive.
I'll give you another reality moment, right? I remember where, this is like when the power of the meme started, right? Like somebody would pass away and, everybody's posting the meme. Yeah. Everybody's posting the picture of said person, right? And I remember, I was like, oh man, like I met that person like twice, man. Let me throw up a picture, and show some love, right? And I put up the picture, and I remember, I don't get into the comments like it. I have no desire to go and read thousands of comments under my page, but the first one, I go back to look at the picture, and the first thing I see is, "You ain't even know him, bitch," and I was like, "Damn." I didn't really know him. I was like, what does family probably think? Oh, man. Probably never talked about me. I look like a fucking idiot. I'm a follower. I'm following the meme craze. Oh, man. I go find a picture off of the internet and put up with this man after he passed away. And the first comment I read was, "You ain't even know him, bitch." And I had to sit to myself. And I did.
The best internet comments are the ones where someone unwittingly stumbles upon the truth.
Yeah.
Those are the greatest internet comments because most comments online are noise and trash and hating. And then there's love, don't get me wrong. But let's say all the negative ones. It's just people who don't like you or whatever it is. But there will be someone who says something that is so true. Where even though they're hating on you, you go, "Oh man, you got me.
You got it. You nailed it.
You got me.
You hit the hammer on the head." I am struggling with that. I do need to figure that out. I need to figure it all out. But the concept attached to throwing yourself in environments that are not just conducive for you or who you are, that was the template for that joke. And I love the honesty and transparency in it. But it also acted as a moment for me in my life where I was like, yo, I'm not doing that no more. In general, I'm not putting myself in any position of discomfort based off of what I think people could possibly think if I were to go through with the thing that they think I need to do. It's too much. That's too many thoughts about the thought that has not yet shaped itself into actually being the thing to think about. Like I'm not 4 steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
I'm no longer that machine or entertaining the idea attached to that machine.
What do you think changed in your life? I could be completely wrong. I'm taking a shot here.
Okay.
Every artist has a moment in their lives where something happens, something shifts, and you see that shift apparent in their work. There is no denying that you came out with 2 of, I would say, these seminal specials when you first came out, right? It was Laugh at My Pain, Little Grown Man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were, you remember, we all know what they were like. In comedy, we all know what those specials are like. There are specials where you can go like, that was it. That's a timestamp. That right there, you can't. Kevin Hart becomes a movie star. You kill it in everything. I mean, I remember 40-Year-Old Virgin. You were honestly, I think, one of the top cameo performers pound for pound I've ever seen.
It was a real
You would step into a movie and everybody in the theater would be killing themselves and nobody would know your name. Nobody would know who that guy was. They would just go, I love. Every time I tell people movies you've been in, they'll be like, he was in that? And then I go, that scene. And then they go, oh, that was, shit, I remember. Oh, I didn't even know. And I
Cameo man.
I wonder, so in a weird way, I sometimes think some people feel like you were this immediate overnight success because in a strange way, they didn't remember all of these characters you were playing in all of these movies. Do you get what I'm saying?
I mean, not only do I get it.
It did seem like all of a sudden you were just the face of a franchise and the face of a movie. But I go like, Kevin Hart was grinding away in 3-minute segments in different people's movies.
I was number 7 and 10 on a call sheet for years. And I was fearless about my approach to the cameo. I was fearless about my approach to getting the role. I can tell you it was crazy. In the Scary Movie franchise, right? Let me tell you how fearless I was. They were doing table reads, and my manager was like, hey, Kev, they're doing these table reads. They just want some personalities to come and do the reads so they can see if the material's working. It's just a way for you to get seen by some people that do movies, comedies, etc. I was like, I'll do it, right? I go here, I'm improvising during the table read. I'm going off script, coming back to the script. In my mind, I said, if I do a good enough job, whatever the role is that I'm reading, I may have a shot at getting the role.
Right.
I leave the table read. Within an hour, my manager called me back. He says, Kevin, you didn't get that part, but they got a part for you that they want you to have. If you're into it, they want you to come back and they want to talk about the part with you. Very small part, cameo part. It was a friend. I talk about the part, once again, fearless, start improvising.
Yeah.
Doing things that I feel the character could do, could say, whatever. They love it. Oh my God, they write it in the damn script. Put all my ad libs in the script. And it was, as we talk about the hit, the fucking drug, oh my God. So if I present the funny material, at times, if it works and I'm still on par with story or script, that can be my engine. That can be my entry point. So from that point on, I stepped up to all cameos. There was the Scary Movies. It was Along Came Polly. It was 40-Year-Old Virgin. It was Drill Bit Taylor. I mean, I can go down a list. Jake in Progress. I was the guy that would come in for a scene, and then after that scene, you wouldn't see me no more. But I made it my business to put together what I would consider to be some funny, impactful moments in whatever the thing was.
Yeah.
And I said, if I do enough of them, the casting directors are all the same. Eventually, they got to say, this guy deserves a bigger part, or we should do something else with the guy. And I remember I got my fucking feelings hurt. It just didn't happen. I look back, man, I had like 12 cameos, all these credits, but nobody knew me from the credits. Nobody fucking knew me. Like I was the guy. He was in shit. What's your name? God damn it. Baby, what's the fucking, we just saw him. What's the shit he was in? Clapping, stomping, trying to come up. They never could get it. The motherfucker he had on the hat. They saying stupid shit right in front of your face. And you like, just ask me, man, so I can tell you. Nah, fuck it then. They just leave.
The worst is when they say something that diminishes you in front of you,
absolutely,
while still giving you a compliment. By the way, they'll be like, "He's the dude. He's the dude."
It was a dumb motherfucker.
And then someone will say something and be like, "No, he's not that funny. The guy,
he ain't that good. He's a stupid motherfucker. What's the stupid motherfucker we said? What's the motherfucker we said ugly as shit?
Oh man,
yeah." I remember saying, all right, I'm going back to stand up, focused on stand up.
Yeah.
Stand up got big. After the specials, there was a moment where I transitioned from multiple shows at comedy clubs to multiple shows at theaters.
Yeah.
And when it got to the multiple shows at theaters, I was like, they're gonna have to come. Like the movies are gonna have to come because people are showing up. So at some point, it has to happen.
Did they?
The movies did not come in the manner I thought they would, right?
Yeah.
The opportunity did.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
And
I like that.
And I believed in the opportunity. So movie offers didn't happen.
That's very religious of you. It's very spiritual. My mom would say something like that.
The opportunity came.
Yes. This story is amazing, but I often try and remind people that most of the time, the moral that you will take from a story of a person who was successful is the incorrect moral. If you get an opportunity to go to a table read what they give you.
Oh yeah, don't do what I did.
Yeah, don't do what this guy did. Don't do what Kevin Hart did.
That's actually a really good point. Like,
don't do what this. I can imagine people walking into rooms, getting a script, and they're like, "We need you to help us work on the script." And you're like, "Bam, boom, bow." Shit!
Don't do.
I'm
don't
sorry,
do what I did.
Kevin. Can we?
Yeah.
This is Shakespeare. Yeah, I just thought maybe.
And I made sure I set it up correctly by saying I said, "Let me tell you how crazy I was." I made sure I set it up correctly. Like that's how nuts I was. I went in there not thinking about the consequences. I'm thinking about how do I make my presence felt?
Yeah.
How do I leave a lasting impact? And
that could have turned out so horribly.
It could have.
I almost hope it would have, and I still hope you would have achieved your success. But I would have loved that moment to turn out terribly.
Yeah,
just for someone else to have a story where they go.
Let me tell you
Kevin
about
Hart.
this dumbass.
Let me tell you my Kevin Hart story.
This idiot.
This guy.
Jesus
This
Christ.
guy.
Talk about no respect for
when
a
they're
writer.
sitting in those agency meetings and Kevin Hart, this guy comes in. I've never seen anything like. I mean, this guy, he couldn't every word. He added his own.
Yeah.
I mean,
ridiculous.
This is
no respect for the craft.
He started rapping in the middle of. I mean,
I remember there was one where I stood up. Like one of the things, like yeah, don't check me. I was going for it.
We're going to continue this conversation right after this short break. So you have these seminal moments in your stand-up. And then I feel like, could be completely wrong, and don't be offended when I say this, but I feel like there's a moment in between in your stand-up where it almost felt like Kevin Hart was preserving Kevin Hart more than Kevin Hart was just being and doing Kevin Hart.
God, absolutely.
And I say this as a comedian who's experienced it.
That's not
like,
offensive at all. That's truth.
So every comedian starts off in what I argue is the best place.
Mm-hmm.
You have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You get on stage. The only thing you have is your comedy, and the only thing you receive is a laugh. You don't even get money. People don't realize in the clubs we were getting $5, $10. Pookie still owes me $15.
Yeah, you got to get it.
Do you know that it'll never happen? I've accepted this, Kevin. I've accepted this,
bro.
So
I'm gonna get mine.
So you that's all you're getting is the laugh and the confirmation of a joke working or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Something clicks. You start to become successful. Now there's a moment where on this bell curve you have nothing. You reach the peak. And now it feels like you have everything. You don't have everything, but it feels like you have everything because it's more than what you had. Mm-hmm. And now fear sets in. And you go, can I tell that joke? Should I perform like that? Mm-hmm. Is that crazy? Do I switch up my style? Because comedians are always evolving. And now, because you have the people at this point, you go, do I keep them at this point? What did I do that they liked? I guess I got to keep doing that.
You're
so
spot on.
Now, especially in this special, I don't know what it is, Kev. You walked out and you feel, even the baseball bat itself is such a you thing.
Y'all see this fucking bat in my hand?
Bring your ass up to the stage. I'm gonna knock your fucking head off, I swear to God. Okay? We're sick of your shit. We're fighting back. Don't you come up here. Knock your goddamn head to the top of this arena. Don't you come up here.
It just feels like it's like, you know, I'm just like, what changed?
Well, first of all, Trevor, it's a great question. All right, it's a great question. It's a great observation. By the way, to my point earlier, it's what you do very well. Here's the big change. The first hint of success, the fear attached to keeping the success clicks in immediately, right? Oh shit, we sold all these tickets. God damn, whoa. Tour was crazy, sold out all over. All right, well, shit, tour's over. Well, I got to get back to the comedy club and I got to figure out what I'm going to do next.
Yeah.
Because I got nothing. After a tour's over, I want to make this perfectly clear to an audience watching, listening. You kill that material immediately.
Yeah.
I cannot recite a joke of old from any it's killed. I blink and I fucking delete it immediately because it has no more value or meaning. The special's taped, the tour is over. Well, what the fuck am I going to talk about next?
Yep.
So the scramble and figuring out what that will be is the scary scramble before your like polished comedian legs present themselves. When you're the new comic and you're the new star, you're the new, you're new. So although you got this light, you're not polished. You're not poised.
You're also not situated.
You're not. You got a hit, and that hit was great, but you don't have an extensive contract.
No.
There's no guarantee to the next.
There's no guarantee
10
on
years.
anything.
There's no guarantee that this next tour is going to sell as many tickets as this one.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that the next movie will be a hit. There's no guarantee that the next starring role will be the right role. There is no guarantee. By the way, at the time when I was coming up, what we might overlook is that I was in a fucked up period of movies. I was in a period of black actor bomb, bye-bye. I was in a period of y'all can't sell movies internationally.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do this. And if these movies don't have any domestic success, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bad investment. I told you black directors were going into director jail if they bomb.
Yeah.
You don't get another shot. So the fear and the stomach bubbles.
This kid just said the stomach bubbles.
The stomach bubbles.
That is a perfect
Will
word
Packer,
for them.
Tim Story, and myself, we did Think Like a Man 1, 2. We did Ride Along 1. We did Ride Along 2. Me and Will Packer did Wedding Ringer and About Last Night. I just named all 6. By the way, we have more, okay? Those 6 movies, you're looking at the trajectory of Kevin Hart. There was never a comfortable moment for release.
You would tell me bubbles the whole time?
For Ride Along, me and Cube, I remember me and Cube being on a press tour, and we were like, boy, we hope they come out, because they done spent some money on this. If they don't come out.
Damn.
I mean, we ended up doing 140 million. Stomach release. Oh my God. Ride Along 2, man, if we don't do 140.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a failure
shit.
immediately.
Oh, fuck, man. If we don't crack the code and surpass, because they spent more money. The pressure. Well, let's go to stand-up where there is no budget. That's you.
Yeah.
You're roaming on stages for free, developing the material that you hope grabs the audience's attention enough that they'll laugh, love, so that you can then grow, announce a special. By the way, when you announce it, here come the bubbles. Oh shit, I hope they buy these fucking shit. They selling. All right. What? They selling.
We never get over that feeling, by the way. We never get over that feeling. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, what changed, Kev?
What changed for me?
What changed?
What changed for me was I got to a place of not just success, but understanding. So my understanding now is, yo, I built a fan base. I built a global fan base of people that no matter what show up because they go, I like that guy. And in that...
But how did you develop the understanding?
The understanding comes where the noise from the outside, you realize is not noise. The things that you think.
Can I throw something at you?
Go ahead.
Could be wildly wrong. I noticed the shift, or I noticed the shift happening most apparently after the car accident.
That was a different shift. Shift number one came with the understanding of, I want to be a brand.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a global brand. I want to own my brand so that my worry attached to the craft goes away because I control it. So once I saw that the idea of control is something that I could dictate if I owned it, and I did that, and I was like, it's kind of like dope.
You think that changed your level of fear?
1,000%, because I control it. So I'm using stand-up to set up the movie. The movie.
I don't know. I don't know. I hear you, but I don't know. Because I feel like you had that drive before. I disagree.
No, the drive.
I disagree.
Drive is drive, right?
I don't. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, what I'm challenging you on is this: is like, and I say this as an observer and as a fan of yours. I think there's something you might take for granted. Because don't get me wrong, there's Kevin Hart, the businessman, and you're very apt at doing that. But sometimes, like as Kevin Hart, the human being, you have moments where, and not to get too deep, but you have moments where, because of how you grew up, because of your family unit, because of, what it was like growing up with your dad as an addict, because it was like seeing your mom in her grind and everything. I think there are moments where you forget how much you push and drive because of the fear of losing all of the things that have helped you and your family to get to where you've gotten to.
The fear is what motivates the complete sentences behind the drive. In other words, like...
But what I'm saying is that fear has slipped and something happened, and it cannot come from... I do not believe that the drive can be the reason for the drive. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I will fight you on this.
Okay.
There's something that comes. There is when human beings are injured, Kev, there's something that happens. I remember talking to an amazing woman who's a disability advocate. And she was one of the people who led the revolution in America on just getting like wheelchair access into venues. Things that you don't think were like, you think of today as common.
Mm-hmm.
This was not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Being like, hey, can we get a ramp into, and people were like, whoa, come on, what is this now? We gonna have ramps for you? Whoa, come on. And people were like, we're in wheelchairs. And they're like, yeah, well, that's not my fault. We gotta build ramps for you? Oh my God. This was a thing. Yeah. I could not believe this when I watched the documentary and when I spoke to this woman, amazing woman. And we were having this conversation. She's very funny, by the way. And I said to her, I was having the conversation. I said, disabled people. And I said, as an able-bodied person. And she said, no. She says, rather think of yourself like this. And I paraphrase. She said, think of yourself as currently abled. Because she said the mistake a lot of people make is they think that disability is both a permanent and predictable thing that'll happen to everybody.
Yeah.
But there is a form of disability that every human being is going to encounter at some point in their lives. It may be reduced mobility when you're older, and it may be, unfortunately, a disease, or, in your case, a severe traumatic accident
1,000%.
that both threatens your life and limits your ability to exist and be as a human. And Kevin Hart, if I look at your trajectory as a person, there are two things that were concurrently happening all the time. Growing, moving, constantly pushing as a comedian and as a performer, and doing the same thing physically. You've been playing sport your whole life. You've been pushing, growing, moving. It's been part of you. There is something that you have to grapple with when there's a possibility of paralysis. There is something that you have to go through when a doctor walks into a room and goes, hey, your spine may not be what it was before. And I think you move on so quickly sometimes that you don't allow yourself to experience those moments. You move very quickly.
I move very quickly.
You're very good at it, don't get me wrong. And I understand a lot of it.
But the fear, you got to understand real fear, right? Like you come from a place of understanding where you can have real fear. When you come from the bottom and you start to experience things outside of the bottom that you didn't know existed or could be true.
Yeah.
And you continue to push and you experience more and you obtain more. The fear is going back to the bottom.
Yeah.
The
further you get from this is the thing I always try to explain to people. There are few things that are more terrifying than starting to do well when you've come from nothing and when your family has had nothing, because you know how far the bottom is.
Yes.
I always tell my friends who've come from well-off families, I go, the one thing I envy that you have, you do not think of your fall as being as far as mine is.
Yes.
So when you think of failing, so let's say level 5 or 6, because that's what your number is, your bottom is. I think of failing and I go, this takes me back to 0.
0.
Complete 0.
0. That fear, that logic, right?
Yeah.
When you start building, the comfort for me comes from, I'm building so that if the fall ever happens, I got multiple things to grab on before I hit the ground.
Oh, you're scaffolding.
So
okay.
Think about when
we've got a scaffolding brother over here.
Think about when you fall.
You need to go to therapy, Kev.
If you attempt to fall.
You need to go to therapy.
No, I'm not going to therapy.
You need to go to therapy.
No, and you just use the therapy word on me.
You need to go to therapy.
Here's where
I see who you are. You're a scaffolding brother.
Here's where
I know you very well.
Here's where you have to think. Here's where you have to go and think, right?
Everything Kevin Hart's about to say, I advise every listener to listen to, but don't follow it.
All right.
Don't follow it.
Okay.
It works, but it's not a permanent solution.
What Trevor is saying, hey, some people fall and they go, I'm not going to use my hands to break this fall.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Let me finish. Some people
tell people about the scaffolding that you're going to tell them about this. Tell
some
them
people go, I'm going to fall on my face.
I'll even say it to you and you tell me if I'm right about what you're about to say.
I'm going to say it first.
Let me say it first so you tell me if I'm right or not.
I'm going to say it first.
Okay,
because you may try to say it differently and make it sound bad. So I'm going to say it first. Here is what it is, man. Like, I have watched people in our business comfortably perform, comfortably work.
Yes.
And walk away
with nothing. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The fear that I have is attached to the walk away.
Yes.
Or the opportunity to actually sit with self and go, I have nothing. I have all these years in a business that I've given my all to, and my all has done nothing but create success for the operating machine, studios, factors, puzzles, promoters, etc., all around me. And as the engine to that operation, I'm left with the shirt on my back or the moment of memory. Because of that, and because of me seeing that, I said, I refuse to not have anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to build as I go. Now that I've worked and I got to this point where, okay, I saw all the success, but like if you go grown little man, we gonna laugh at my pain. I was like, all right, well, the tours and all this stuff and the lights or whatever is great. I'm selling tickets. I'm paying money out the ass with commissions and everything, but I don't really have anything. The opportunity came up for me to go and put the special in theaters where they were like, you're gonna take the money you just made and you're gonna put it into the, you're gonna fund that and put that into the theaters.
Right.
And I was like,
but let's get to the scaffolding,
so
Kevin Hart.
I said, I'll
You're
own it.
avoiding this.
No,
go to
I'm
the
getting
scaffolding.
I'm getting it. Here's the scaffolding. I said, but I'll own it. Okay. So I fell in love with owning that one thing.
Okay.
All right. And then owning that thing, I said, you know what? I want to build something else to own.
Okay.
All right. I want to own this too.
Right.
You know what? I got 2 things that I own.
Okay.
All right. Fuck that. I'm going to own something else. Let me go figure this real estate shit out.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to own that. Hey, man, you know what? This company shit, it's not as hard as these people think it is. And if I build it correctly,
I'm
maybe
getting
I
into
can own
venture
it,
capital.
right?
Let's go.
Now, VC, where they investing at? And why I got to take, why I got to listen to you and I got to give you my, why can't I raise my own and own my own? Okay. Now, guess what? This carpet that we stand on comfortably one day will be pulled out. One day these motherfuckers will come and go, that's it. And when they do, if you got shit that takes a long time to go down, or if you got buildings that just rock a little bit, well, the security of mind, the security of self lasts. My security of mind and my security of self only lasts because I get to go, hey, no matter what, you can't take what I built. And what I built, it ain't under my name. It's under the brand. It's under the entity. It's under the infrastructure that I created that everybody else has ignored. So when I fall down, oh yeah, Kevin Hart may fall, but these buildings gonna fucking stand. With or without you. And hey, when I'm done, although it may be rough, rocky, whatever, my fucking kids gonna look at them buildings and they gonna look at that shit and they're gonna go, man, dad did some dope shit. My security comes from the understanding that the brand, the operation, the movement, the business outside of Kevin Hart is a business that works.
I appreciate that.
And that, for that thing,
yes,
I will never compromise my now feeling of comfort. So me going and selling tickets or not,
now it's a bonus.
It's a bonus.
Okay, now it's a bonus.
Now it's a bonus.
I see what you've done.
You see what I'm saying?
You're a scaffolding brother.
It's a thank you.
I'm completely with you.
No pressure at all.
I hear you completely.
There's no feeling attached to it. If I walk into an arena, right, today, and that arena is a quarter full.
Because 50 Cent bought the front rows.
50 bought the front row. You know what? Where I'm at today, I'm like, man, I'm going to get these people a great show. But you know what? I had a good fucking run. I had about 13 years at the top of it.
Have you ever done a half-empty arena, by the way?
No.
I've done one.
No.
And I tell you...
I shouldn't have said it that fast. That sounded really asshole.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's
I know,
fine.
but let's edit that out. Ask me that question again.
Kev, have you ever done an empty arena, a half-empty arena?
Let me think. Have I done an empty arena? I don't know, Trevor. I don't know if I have. I would have to think about it. I mean, I'm quite sure there's probably been some.
We're gonna go with the first take. I like that better. So I've done one before. This was in Springfield, Missouri. It was really the only venue that we could go to. Deep Republican, like little enclave. And my team said, "This is it. We don't know the promote. You've never been. We don't even know what's going to happen here. We don't even know if you have fans in this place. Let's see what happens." I said, "Well, let's go." We went there. I think the arena. This is like a cut down arena. The capacity was 6,000 people, maybe
5, 6.
Yeah, I think we sold 3,000 or 4,000 tickets.
Okay.
Everybody, when I walked in, everybody looked like we were at a funeral. Not the audience. I mean, everyone backstage. You know when the promoter can't look at you. Yeah. You know when everybody's ashamed. Yeah. And I'll never forget this moment.
They also don't know what your ego capacity is in dealing with that.
Yeah.
How do you handle
And so
that?
I said, "Oh, how did we end up doing?" And they said, "Well, we've tried to move some people down. We've tried to move things around. It should be a good show. It should be a good show." I was like, "Okay, hey, man." And I remember I was chatting to my manager Derek, who works with me on the road, and I said to him, he said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry. We didn't know what this market would be." And I said, "Derek, it is so crazy how our perspective has shifted in the wrong direction." Mm. I said, there was a time when we would dream of selling 300 tickets in a place where I actually have fans.
Yeah.
Now, everybody here is morose when we have sold 3,000 tickets in Springfield, Missouri. I was like, the fact that people have come out in Springfield, Missouri
is a big deal.
Is wild. And I said, if you think about it properly, there are always more people not coming to your show than people who are coming to your show. Mm-hmm. So if you focus on the people who have come to your show,
it's a bigger show.
You've made it the best show. Man,
it's a bigger show.
Can I tell you, I had more fun with that audience than I've had in a long ass time.
Yes.
Because they felt like they had chosen me. Because there's a weird thing that happens when an arena isn't full, by the way. There's two things. One, there's a feeling of doubt. Mm-hmm. Some people in the audience are like, all right, clearly people know there's somewhere else we should be. Yeah. There's a moment of doubt. Mm-hmm. And then you as the performer have to come out and show the audience that they did make the right choice. Mm-hmm. And then the second feeling I find in those moments is the audience goes, no, we are specific in our choice. We've chosen Trevor Noah. Mm-hmm. Trevor Noah has chosen us. Mm-hmm. This is not for everyone. Mm-hmm. And so this experience becomes more intimate.
There should be a feeling of pride.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying in that is, the reason I say you're a scaffolding brother, which I don't mind. I have some scaffolding in me as well as a person.
What does scaffolding mean?
So
don't just throw therapy words out there and assume
no, this is not therapy words at all.
I know,
this is not therapy speak at all.
Don't assume your audience has been to the therapist as well. That's a very selfish therapist.
This is not therapy talk at all.
Scaffolding is definitely therapy talk.
It's like tummy bubbles.
What? We talking about
tummy bubbles is like someone would use that in therapy as well.
Okay, all right.
If you like bubbles, stomach bubbles.
What I just said, that was not a therapy word, and I feel like
if you say tummy bubbles, I go, that's a therapy word. It's just a way.
I would say gaslighting.
That's a therapy word. Okay, you see, that's a therapy word.
Good.
That's different. Don't go anywhere, because we got more What Now after this. What I mean by a scaffolding brother is there are two ways, or there are multiple ways, but I think two of the prominent ways for us to deal with the idea of having less or going backwards or diminishing in life or whatever it might be. The one way is to build scaffolding in our lives. And what that scaffolding is we go, okay, if as Kevin Hart, I'm not a movie star, okay, what do I have? If as Kevin Hart, I'm not a comedian selling out, what do I have? Okay, so let me diversify. I'm going to build up these companies. I'm going to build up these institutions. I'm going to own that. I'm going to own this. I'm going to own this. I'm going to own that. I'm going to own that. I'm going to own. That way, I'm in a situation where my eggs are not in one basket. And that means that if in one space I am, unceremoniously kicked out, I still have everything else that I can go back to. I have basically created the scaffolding. That's why they use scaffolding in construction, so that they don't go backwards from that. It's like, all right, let's build around this thing to at least enable it to get to a certain place, and then we can sort of move back. But it holds everything where it needs to be while it is being built up. Right?
I think that's a great breakdown.
Right? And I would encourage you to try it a little bit more. I know it's hard. Don't get me wrong, because you're Kevin Hart and you have this mountain that you've built. But I would encourage you as Kevin Hart to also realize beyond the brands, beyond the buildings, beyond all of those things. And I would even speak on behalf of your kids. I think you take for granted that the buildings may not have as much of an impact on your kids as the building that you've done with them.
I would say you're probably correct. It's not
probably.
Well, yeah, here's where you probably are correct. Right?
You said probably again.
Well, I'm going to tell you why. Right? So the idea of follow through early on, it presented itself and I never took it serious. Right? School, I fucked it off. High school, SATs, fucked it off. Didn't take it serious, abacadabra the whole way down. I'm going to Great Adventure to go be with my friends. Applying to college, trying to get into college. For what? Like, everybody, are y'all doing it? Fucked it off. Community college, 2 weeks. I'm out of here. This ain't for me. Sneaker store, I guess that's what it's going to be. Everything.
Because you worked at, did you work at Foot Locker? Where
City
did you work?
Sports. City Sports.
City Sports.
City
Okay.
Sports.
Yeah.
Everything that was positioned in front of me for me to take serious, that my mother tried her best to get me to understand, I fucked off. Swimming, successful in it. Could have had scholarships, could have done whatever. I fucked it off.
You swim?
A phenomenal swimmer.
Like at that level?
Yes.
I thought you had to be told to be a good swimmer.
No, you don't.
No, this is not even a joke.
It sounds like it.
It's not a joke.
It really sounds like a dig, Trevor.
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. I gave you a chance. Let's go back on that one.
Yeah, swimming.
You swam?
Yeah, I swam.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about your physical makeup that made you
what?
Let's go to take 3. Let's go to take 3. Let's go. I apologize.
Swimming.
You swam?
Yeah, I swim.
When I think of swimming,
what do you think of?
I find myself thinking of an archetype, a certain type of person.
Yeah.
And this is because maybe swimming there's been gatekeepers. In swimming. And so you think of, how Michael Phelps, and they look a certain way.
Yeah, I know. Like we're what do they call it? When you share the same love and you do the same thing, you practice with each other.
Yeah, but I think it's less about the drive. I'm talking about the physical aspects of the person.
Yeah,
like
I've been next to Mike in a swimming pool. Like
yeah.
You can't really tell us apart in that water. You can't.
Yeah. So it's
all about the stroke.
Wow.
Yeah. My freestyle was amazing. Butterfly was phenomenal.
Is that because you're pulling less?
I don't. What do you mean? What does that mean? What is that? When you say pulling less? What are you saying? It's all about strength, Trevor.
And drag, right?
Well,
isn't it about minimizing
strength?
Drag?
No, Trevor. It's about minimizing movement or wiggle. Okay.
Yeah.
Great form in swimming provides great results. Now, granted, I fucked it off because I was a cheater. All right. I was a guy that was cheating in practice and half-assing it. I didn't want to do shit. The point that I'm making is that everything I was supposed to do seriously, I fucked it off. So when I finally cracked the code and figured out the thing that I could do, the fear is not fucking it off.
I like that.
I fucked it off.
Okay.
Everything else I fucked off. So this here, I'm not going to fuck it off. I'm going to not only take it serious, I'm going to get so good at it and do it at the best of my ability.
Right.
Oh shit, something else happened. Well, I'm not going to fuck that opportunity off either. Oh shit, another door happened. I ain't going to fuck that off. Everything now as an adult, because the adult that was giving me the information was right. My mom was right.
When did you first start realizing how right your mom was?
When you realize how much you fucked off. when you look up and all your friends moving on and going away to college, they got scholarships, and you saying, when did y'all apply? When did y'all apply to do that? Kev, you didn't apply, and now you realize you're the ignorant child.
Damn.
You realize that you're the dumb child.
Do you feel like you got to the place where you got to reward your mother for the investment that she made in you? Because I know how hard it was, for you losing her.
Absolutely not.
You didn't feel like in your lifetime no. You don't think she was like, because she, just as you were rising,
Fool's Gold. I want to say this was like
Were you in Australia? Where were you shooting?
I was in Australia, but I'm just trying to think of where this movie. This was basically like, a big role for me.
Yeah.
Because I was number 3 or 4 on the call sheet.
It was like Matthew McConaughey.
Right? Kate Hudson. And this is a big role. So I went away to Australia, but this is like one of my like big roles.
Yeah, and your mom was sick at the time.
She was sick at the time. So she didn't get to, like, the world of benefits came way after, meaning like the real fruits of the labor. So, my mom didn't have a house. My mom, we didn't have grass. My mom didn't have comfort in her life. My mom wasn't able to relax. And on her later stages of life, she was sick. So in the perfect picture of, I would have loved to provide my mom with the luxury item of comfort, of sit down and don't worry. But at the same time, there is a dual thought and dual feeling of, I kind of navigate through this business in a way where I'm not bothered or like ruffled easily by the ups and downs of it, and I truly do feel, because I got the hand of on my shoulder.
I
got an amazing guiding light,
right,
and an amazing like talent of processing information, processing moments,
and that's
good
from
bad.
Your mom.
Absolutely.
On your dad's side, do you think you were ever able to forgive him? Do you think, I know you had an interesting and tumultuous relationship. You connected as adults, but there's moments where you even see this in your documentary, by the way, if anyone's keenly observing, you can still see that there are moments where your dad had this hold over you. It's like, it's like on the one hand, he's sort of holding you back. On the other hand, he's proud of you. And like most parents, he's limited in his ability to be perfect. Did you forgive him while he was still alive?
Absolutely. I think, my dad.
Absolutely? I only say this because I think it's tough and it's hard for us to think about these moments. But
here's what I say absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no reservation towards my dad.
Okay. Okay.
There's an understanding like you can't go back and change the things you did.
Yeah.
You can apologize and we can be grown and be men and move forward. But at this point, life wasn't about me. Like, I'm okay. Focus on being a grandpa. Don't worry about me at this point. And I'm telling them at face value, like, I'm good. I love you because you're my dad. I appreciate you for tabling the mistakes and the bad choices. By the way, I got some of you in me. So my bad choices are in my fucking blood. Like, right. I'm not the guy, to your point earlier, the monk or the walking staple of perfection. I get where I come from. I get where I'm a mess and where I'm not. But what I do very well is process reality. And reality is you're my father. I don't want to take that away. I don't want to change that.
Yeah.
And your mistakes are great mistakes because they gave me great examples of what I shouldn't fucking do. Try my best to avoid that shit because look at the consequences of it.
Yeah.
You've lived through your consequences. You survived them. Yo, man, go be a dope-ass grandpa. Tell your grandkids some dope stories. Go get some dope toys. Go put that time in over there because you're going to get more joy out of that than you are going to get out of trying to redo or undo. When I'm telling you, I'm not looking back there. I'm looking up here. My joy is going to come from my kids going, hey, man, can we see grandpa? My kids are going to go. My joy is coming from my kids. Beautiful. Like saying, Dad, we want to go back and spend time with grandpa. They don't know about your past.
You get a new chance. You get an opportunity.
Absolutely.
To rewrite a script.
That's your next version of Kevin.
Yeah.
That's the next version. That's your son's child.
My mom always said the reason they call them grandparents is because now you have a grand opportunity to be a different type of parent.
1,000%.
Different levels of wisdom, understanding, compassion, all of it.
My brother and my dad's relationship was a little rougher. They figured their shit out. My brother is pound for pound the best thing that ever happened to my kids. My brother has taken the role, if I have to go, he comes. I got to go on the road, my brother comes to the house. I got to go do movie or promo or whatever, my brother's out there. The feeling of love is never a void or never a missed opportunity. You have 4 kids. 4 kids that all stand on, oh yeah, when dad's like, uncle come out, uncle helps us do this and that. My brother is hey man, let me show y'all how to fly a kite. Let me show you. You never do a boomerang? Y'all never seen these old movies, Rascals? Kev, you ain't showing Rascals.
That's funny.
Or Little Giants.
You've maintained the village, man.
You don't, all the shit that you overlook.
Yeah.
If you got a partner.
Yeah.
You got a partner in crime that really understands you and has your best interests. Well, I'm coming in and dad is the cool dad that loves us and wants to do all the cool stuff, the dope activities. We watch movies, we chill. But uncle got the activity game on lock.
I love this
dad,
man.
Uncle showed me how to throw a strike. You can't throw no strike. Let me see it. Throw it. I bet I knocked that ball out the park. No, you not. And my brothers, throw the strike. I beat the shit out that ball.
Oh, man.
Bow. My kid's like, Dad. That's right. You know why I did that? Because your uncle ain't shit. Right now, we got a great rapport. But the fun, the energy, that energy comes from an understanding of where we come from. So what you build is ultimately a comfort of just simply what you can fall back on.
Right.
And that fall back, what I want your listeners to understand, that fall back should be a feeling that we all have. After the pandemic, after the climate that we saw overtake our world, after we saw the economy shut down, well, we all should have a little fear of, if it happens again, well, let me build something so I can fall. If you don't ever think about the fall, when you fall, you're not going to get up. That's a real thing. You will not get up. And we're in a business of folded chairs. By folded chairs, it means so many people chooses to no longer sit down on the chair. They say, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to fold this chair up and put it up. I'm done. And that comes from a mindset. It comes from a lack of understanding that you can create or build what makes you feel strong. If you want real strength, give yourself the bandwidth and mental infrastructure to feel as strong as you possibly need to go out and do the shit you want to do. Because now, fail or not, you feel good because you feel like you are investing into you and you can look back and see the shit. If I can say I own a pair of pants, well, those are my fucking pants. They mine. Can't take these pants from me. These are my pants.
This is scaffolding. We're back to scaffolding, Kev.
I need to do it.
This is back to scaffolding.
Well, call me the scaffolding king, okay? Because I'm going to build all that
he's
shit.
The scaffolding king.
Call it what you want. I got it. And I'm going to build it.
Do not put all your eggs in one basket.
Don't.
My dream is to not even have eggs.
Okay.
That's my dream.
Okay.
I may not get there, but it's my dream. It's my dream. Before I
gotta say this. Before you say one more thing, I got to say this. And you talked about it because you touched on it a little bit. When you talk about the fear as a comic, right? Let's of course, take all his personal shit out of it. Bill Cosby for a second.
Did you just throw Bill Cosby in the end of a sentence?
You'll see why. Bill Cosby.
You can't. Okay,
I can't.
But can I just say?
I said put it aside.
Okay,
I said that.
But let me explain something.
But I prefaced that.
Let me explain something right now. You cannot just say at the end of a sentence.
Yeah, Bill Cosby.
You cannot go like, let's throw all the personal shit aside when Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
So anyway,
okay.
you have to warn me, prepare me.
You're right. All right, I'm about to say some deep shit, but it's gonna start off as fucked up shit. And
there we go.
To the good
you
shit.
see that?
Okay.
Okay.
Are you ready?
All right. Bill Cosby. Got
all
it.
Right. So I was in Montreal, and I forgot how old Bill Cosby was. He was performing at some little thing. Bill Cosby was, let's just call it 70-something.
Okay.
Came out and he sat on a stool. Bill Cosby started doing Bill Cosby. And there was
comedy Bill Cosby.
The comedy Bill Cosby.
Got it.
And there was a sold out crowd at 70-something years old without any consistency in touring or like real dedication to the craft over the course of time. But at the old age of, the feeling and joy that comes from the laughter of a crowd is what we'll forever get high off of, right? And when I talked about being envious, I was like, man, I'm envious that he still gets to feel that at that age. I hope and pray that when I'm that age, I still have the desire to go in front of a crowd and do the thing that I fell in love with. I hope and pray that my love for the thing I do continues. Because the fear, to your point, when you talked about the sets, talk about the joke, am I funny, am I not? Is this working? Does that not work? All these thoughts are thoughts that we have.
Right.
But if you can beat all those thoughts and just maintain a high level of love for the craft and for the energy, it will be attached to the people that have invested in you through the years. And I looked at his crowd. Those people were old as shit in that crowd. A bunch of old fucking people came out. And I was like, it's because they grew up on him. That's their life. Their life was like always, his fans have still rolled with him prior to. Until this moment, they're still buying tickets and excited. Imagine as Trevor Noah and as Kevin Hart.
Well, don't put my name in the sentence. Go on.
Imagine. Well, I said you
imagine
first.
As Kevin. Imagine
well, you
as
notice
Kevin
I said
Hart.
you first. I put a gap.
Imagine as Kevin Hart. Imagine as Kevin Hart.
It's your show. Imagine as Trevor Noah and Kevin Hart. We get to a place, man, and you look out and you see some old people still rocking with you.
Right.
What better feeling?
I'll tell you what better feeling for me. I hear what you're saying because I understand the moral of your story. What you're saying is, in life, be like Bill Cosby.
Wait, no, whoa, wait a second.
That was
Trevor,
the moral of your story.
No,
you
wait.
said,
Trevor,
you said, no matter how old you get, keep doing it.
This
is what I heard you say. So now I don't agree with it, but because you're my guest, I don't argue with you.
Okay.
You know, I think this is a forum for everyone to air their opinions. I personally would have just told that story and not said who the comedian was. I would just say it was like an old guy on stage who was a great comedian. And
you know what you're doing right now? You're scaffolding.
Don't be afraid, Kev. Those are just tummy bubbles. You relax. So I'll tell you what's great. Look, I'm not dismissing it. I mean this honestly. It is great to have that, but I think what would be a greater feeling for me as a human being is to have that feeling regardless of whether or not I'm on stage.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
That's honestly what I try and hope to pursue in life, is where I go, that thing on stage is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful compliment to my life, but I genuinely want to feel like that. And I do in many moments now when I'm not on stage. Well, and so I try and move through the world.
You've been very active about voicing this. Like in our conversations, like,
you know me from the time,
even with the Daily Show. What I loved even about the Daily Show, and I remember I walked away when we were talking. And I was like, "What an answer!" Like I was like, "What?" Like why? He was like, "It was just time." He was like, "I just, I got to a point where I was like, okay, and I want to pursue something else."
Yeah,
and you were like, and I'm
trying to be the best liver of life I can possibly be now.
It's very
genuinely,
clear. It's
genuine with all the peace I have. And, have great conversations with people. Before I let you go, you're a very busy man. Let me ask you this question. I ask everybody on the podcast, what now? We meet Kevin Hart in this moment. Because it seems like you are perpetually building and perpetually expanding. I'd love to know what now, as you move into the next stage of doing everything. It's VC, it's banking, it's all of these things. What? And do me a favor, Kevin, I ask you this as a friend and as a human being. Don't ever release like some shitty credit product that hurts black people and poor people. I'm looking at you on camera saying this right now.
I will not do that.
I'm just saying this to you right now, Kev.
I don't have a credit card coming out.
Yo, Kev,
I don't have
I'm letting you know face to face.
I'm telling you that I do not.
Your people love you.
Yes, I do
not screw us over.
I say this to you at face value.
I mean this, Kev.
My whole relationship with my financial partner is built off of financial literacy.
You remember I had a dream. You remember I even had a dream about you once. So this is the weirdest dream I've ever had. One of the strangest dreams, right? I had a dream, and this was before you released it. I had a dream that Kevin Hart came to me, and he was like, Trev, we gotta release a fitness drink. We gotta release a protein powder fit. And then I said to you, okay, Kev, I love this idea. I said, but what are the ingredients? Is it going to be good? And you said, fuck good. I said, man, Trevor, who gives a shit if it's good? It's going to sell. We're going to do this. And I started crying. This is the weirdest dream I've ever had. Because Kevin, we don't even roll like that. We don't even, like, we've always been brothers in comedy. You've always been wonderful to me. But we don't, it's not like we roll every day. People might have this false assumption.
Yes.
This was a strange dream for me to have. And I remember I woke up and I was like, Kevin Hart, why would I even dream about that? A few months later, you released
Vita Hustle.
Vita Hustle.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, it's real. But then I tasted your tequila. And you remember I called you about this because I don't know why. I've been very honest with you from the time I've known you. I called you about the tequila.
It's called a good relationship, Trevor.
No. But I mean, what I mean is like, it's like I'm more honest with you than people I've known for longer is what I mean, right?
Yes.
With very few, like,
very transparent.
Very transparent. Yeah, very transparent. And I remember I called you and I said, Kevin, I thought this tequila was going to be shit. It's actually delicious.
Yes.
And you said, well, first of all, I'm offended. But why would you say that? And I said, well, because I just assume it's a celebrity. You're going to put your name on a thing. And I was, and then you said something. You said, Trevor, you said, I am trying to make everything I do be the best. You're like, I want to have the best tequila, not the best selling.
Yes.
I want to have the best tequila.
Yes.
I want to have the best protein. I want to have the best company. So what now? What's Kevin Hart moving towards now?
What Kevin Hart in third
Other than
person.
therapy, because I know you're going to try that.
Yes.
But
what I will
going.
say I'm moving towards now is finishing the sentences. There's incomplete sentences.
Oh, beautiful.
So I have to put periods on the sentences. And those periods are attached to the things that I'm building. And the things that I'm building, the pressure I feel I put on myself is because I'm not just building it for me. I'm building it for the people that have invested into me, into the idea. So Heartbeat and the level of success as a studio that I obtained to have, not for myself, but for all.
Yeah.
The big what now is like the creative platform and opportunity for the stars of tomorrow. Like I got my light. It's not going to get any brighter. Mm-hmm. The star's not going to get any bigger. But of the platform for, or the studio of, if I can be attached or a part of saying, come this way, and the people that come through that door become, man, that's a fucking amazing way to pass the baton.
That's beautiful, man.
So right now, I just want to get as close as I possibly can to open up that next door that I don't have to go through.
Yeah.
But that those of tomorrow can.
I love that, man.
That's what I want. That's what now.
I appreciate that, Kev.
Trevor, I like talking to you, man.
I love talking to you. I always enjoy speaking to you.
This is really good. I think low key, I want to say that this was like your way of giving me a therapy session that you think I need.
No.
And I'm gonna talk to you about it later.
No,
I think
Kev.
you just I think you gas bombed me. What is that term right? Did you gas bomb me? I think you gas bombed me.
I actually like that. I'm a gas bomb people. No, for real, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your transparency. I appreciate how you've always supported me. I always tell people the story and I never hold back. I go, nobody wanted to come on the Daily Show when I was starting. Everyone seemed, like now I hold an Emmy. People go, oh, it's obvious and well-deserved. Nobody wanted to come on that show. Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted to be because they were like, people were like, if I say I'm with him, I don't know who he is, what he's going to do, how he's going to, I understand that fear. I don't even hold it against people. You were literally the first person who said, I'll do it. I will open this random African person's TV show after Jon Stewart.
Absolutely.
And I'll ride with it. And I'm eternally grateful. I was like, Kevin Hart, and I get it. I was like, if he can support Bill Cosby, he can support me.
Okay. Well, that's a weird way to end that.
And I just want to say I appreciate you for that,
I feel like we can edit that last piece out.
Yo, man, this was great. Thank you, yo.
Fucking love you, man.
Thank you so much.
This is great.
Yo, can I just tell you the funniest thing? We can cut it out or leave it in. The funniest moment was when I was pulling into this place. Security guard. He's like, oh, this is not your guy. The guy who someone who works outside. He's like, hey, yo, you that dude, man? What's going on, Trev? Hey, Noah. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? He's like, oh, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, I'm coming. He's like, oh, you coming, Kevin Hart? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, it's about the Cat Williams thing. I was like, no, man. I was like, what do you? No.
Why would you?
I was like, what do you?
No, man. What do you think we do? Oh, y'all coming to meet about that? Oh, it's about to go down there. Oh, he called it in the truth. What? I love it.
It's funny in preparing for this conversation. I was thinking, there's very few people we sit down with where you can talk about as many topics as we can with you. Like when I think of a Venn diagram of conversation, Ruha fits perfectly in the middle of most of these events. Like everything. I mean, like everything.
Master of none, though. Master of none.
Don't say that.
No. Actually, no. Actually, you should say that.
You think she's a master of none?
You should say that. Wait, I'm gonna read you the full quote.
Yeah.
So I like to consider myself a master of none, and I used to hate it my whole life.
Okay.
Until I'll read you the full quote. The full saying is: "A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one."
Yes,
okay.
I love it. I love it. You know, the word amateur, there's a beautiful essay by Edward Said where he talks about, you know, the difference between professionals and amateurs. And he says, you know, at the heart of amateur is amor. It's love.
It is the love of something.
Yeah.
It's actually a source of pride because you're infusing love. You're led by love, not necessarily a need for status and accolades and professional sort of titles. And so I embrace that.
But let me say, this lady has a MacArthur, like the genius. Before we go down this Amor road, this is a very credentialed professor here.
Christiana, you could not be more Nigerian if you tried.
Exactly.
No, because if my parents are listening, they're like, oh, she's just speaking to some person with opinion. I'm like, no, mom and dad.
So yeah, that's for your parents.
That's for my parents. This woman has a MacArthur Genius Grant. So he's written a ton of books. For those at home that may not be familiar, Ruha is a tenured professor at Princeton University. That's why I'm like, she's not an amateur, guys. Who's currently
so Nigerian.
Let
me tell you something. There's nothing a Nigerian will point out more than this person. This is a professor.
Yes,
Can I introduce you? This is a doctor.
I'm sorry, Dr. Ruha.
Do you know what is PhD? Do you know? No, you're not talking to a person. This is a doctor.
She's not your mate.
You are so it's so crazy how you just like, and another thing. Doctor.
But it's important context.
Trevor, let's start counting how many times she has to remind.
Someone has to do it because she's too humble.
Yeah, and I think that's why you're the perfect person to speak to about I wrote down a list of things because I didn't want to miss anything. Everything from DEI to the world of tech, education, community and the way we see it, society, government, the role that it plays. I was like, it feels like your work has drawn you into everything. You know, your degrees, your qualifications, your expertise, the amount of time you spend on it, your books. So maybe the first thing we should jump into is DEI. Has DEI failed? Was it bound to fail?
Yeah, I was never a big booster of DEI. So to see it coming down, I feel for those who were genuinely invested in that as a potential to transform institutions and industries. But it always felt like a concession, a placeholder for something that could be more transformative. And so, like with placeholders, I think they become permanent. As opposed to being a stepping stone, it becomes this kind of, safe way of corralling those who would sort of cause trouble.
Right.
And so, you could say it was bound to fail, or you could say it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. And so I think we shouldn't be satisfied with kind of these sort of token, fleeting forms of attention, because as we're seeing now, they come and go very quickly. So many of the people who were hired under DEI programs, after the killing of George Floyd are now losing their jobs. Yeah. Entire programs are going up in smoke. So I think we should rethink what our demands are.
Ruha, it's interesting you say that. The thing that made me come across you, not first, but a very viral moment, you gave a commencement speech at your alma mater, Spelman College, and you said black faces in high places will not save us. And for some people who really believe in representation politics, they jut up against that idea. They think, no, we need black faces in high spaces. What brought you to that conclusion? Because it's a very radical one, and also I would say kind of cynical as well. Which I'm a cynical person, but I'm just interested about what about your life path brought you to that place. It doesn't matter if it's a black person at the top.
Yes,
this system is rotten.
So many stories I could tell. One is, as a graduate student, I was in that kind of position of being enrolled to be the black face of a scientific program that was trying to recruit more Black patients to undergo a very experimental treatment. So I was enrolled to be that person that was supposed to help win over the trust of this community that was needed for this program. And it was a very uncomfortable position because I was, at the one hand, sort of touted and put up on a pedestal, but at the same time, very vulnerable. Because if I had said no, then I would have lost access to X, Y, and Z. So one is my own complicity. Then very recently, in the last year, in my own institution, I've observed how Black administrators in particular are really being called on to do the dirty work, to write the threatening emails, to call students who are demanding an end to genocide aggressive and angry and a threat. And so it's not the white president, but a whole flank of Black administrators who are the ones who are really, doing the work of these institutions to repress free speech and dissent. And I think that is very strategic, because when that is the face of the message, people perhaps who believe in representational politics may be less likely to question it, be critical of it, to push back against it. So it's really a way of insulating business as usual with a cosmetic veneer of change and progress and inclusion that I really believe we have to look past and look through in order to see what's actually going on.
I can imagine, as I'm listening to you say these two things about diversity, the first part of it is, I can imagine a lot of people who don't share your politics cheering with you, first of all, because I think of people like Elon Musk who have said, no, he's like, we don't want diversity.
Yeah.
We want the best people for the job, and that's it. And stop hiring diversity. Boeing planes are crashing because of the blacks.
Yes.
The blacks don't know how to screw doors in, right?
Yes.
Even though there's no record of this. So he would hear you and be like, yes, thank you. We don't want diversity. We want the best person for the job.
Yes.
Another person would be like, wait, but then Ruha, if we're not addressing the exclusion of people, like when I think of South Africa's history, the intention behind what we called Black economic empowerment, which was terribly implemented, by the way, I think the idea behind it was great. And it was, for a long time, Black people couldn't go to schools. Black people couldn't get this type of education. They couldn't get this type of job. They couldn't live in this city. They couldn't do, similar to America, right? You couldn't get a bank loan. You couldn't get the mortgage. Your house was undervalued, etc. Continues to be. And so someone said, how do we design a system that tries to right that wrong and get people to where they should be? And I can imagine somebody listening to what you're saying going like, whoa, wait, but then what are we supposed to do? Not fix it?
Yeah,
because I know you're very solutions driven as well. What do you think we're missing when we only think of the inclusion or not the inclusion?
Simply put, we're not asking what we're being included into. And so, whether we draw on something that Martin Luther King said in terms of being integrated into a burning house, or we think about the fact that plantations were very diverse places, but we would never say that. And we would never say that they were. Wow. We would never say that they were progressive or liberal. So diversity and domination can go hand in hand. And honestly, many of the institutions that people are currently working on continue this plantation ethos. I just came back from a conference where educators of color working in schools around the country, specifically independent schools, private schools, that so many of them got hired a few years ago are now being let go. They were used up. They were put on the face of the websites. They were used to make these institutions feel good. And now that they are actually using their voices, they're being let go. And so that means that it was never about true inclusion of people's insights and experiences, but it was there to make the institutions feel good about themselves. And so again, when we're offered two choices, exclusion or inclusion, we always have to ask ourselves what's being left off the table.
I actually had a follow-up. You have been an activist alongside the students in the pro-Palestine movement, kind of become I'd say, the professorial face of this movement at Princeton. And because of your stance, you've been suspended. And that is what you're talking about when you're talking about Black administrators and the protests against genocide, etc., in the light of diversity and inclusion. Can you speak more about that? Because you're putting your career on the line, and
absolutely,
there's people out there, but like, what's Palestine got to do with you? So I'm really curious about that.
I'm happy to. And just quick clarification, I'm on probation for a year, specifically for accompanying the students in a sit-in that took place in the spring. And I went in because they were concerned about, one, police brutality that we'd been witnessing at Columbia and other places, and also because up until that point, the administration was really distorting their activities and their motives. And so they wanted a kind of objective faculty observer, but the administration has rejected that status and just said, I was with them, and so now I'm on probation. And so, to think about, again, at the very moment you mentioned the MacArthur, the day before I received the call from MacArthur that I won this award in September, I had just had a very tense call with the administration that was essentially investigating my role. And so when the award was announced, it was all over the university website, all of the accolades. So they take credit. And at the same time, they're investigating me for basically acting on what I was hired to do.
Damn.
And so they're happy for it to stay theory. They're happy for it to stay on the page. But when you start actually living what you're writing and studying about, then it becomes a problem. And so that is, again, this disjunction between liking things to be controlled in the way that will benefit them. But as soon as you start to challenge them, then they try to put you in your place. Try being the operative word.
You spoke about this, in that same address that Cristiano was talking about that went viral. One of the things you speak about as well is these universities, and universities in general, being quick to suppress people's voices when a protest is happening, but then many years later, rewarding those people with honorary degrees I didn't realize that until you said it. I was like, oh yeah, there's so many people, you name it, like from MLK to Nelson Mandela to where universities, like the institutions, were against them.
Yeah.
And then many decades later, they're like, we would like to honor you, Mr. Mandela, with this degree for the peace work that you've done.
Exactly.
And I wish, like, Nelson Mandela, I wish, like, one time he would have come on and be like, but you were against me. You told me to shut up when I was protesting. But, I mean, I guess you don't want to do it in that moment. But
But I mean, like Alice Walker came to Spelman. She was an undergrad there. She left after a year or two max because they were really against her civil rights activism. And now, of course, she will be touted as a former student, even though she had to go to another school to graduate.
Wow.
So there's so many cases like that. And all of these schools we're talking about, had students who were against apartheid, who fought, like thinking about South African apartheid as like this touchstone in all of these places where they really, in hindsight, they're like, oh yeah, we should have been against that when it was happening. And so now that it's like part of the history.
Yeah, they want to rewrite it.
Carrying that tradition, they can't connect the dots.
I'm curious, Ruha, as like, Trevor teases me all the time because I'm a bit of a champagne socialist, right?
Yes.
So I'm always very curious about the people that it goes from theory, like you write all these books, to actual praxis. Like you're on probation right now. You're not working because of what you believe in. What is it about you and your history that means you're like, oh, this can't just be what I write about. It has to be what I live.
Yeah. So one is that my work is not tied to the institution. Like I carry on doing the work. This probation is like adult timeout. It's like if you do anything else, quote unquote, unprofessional, as that's the language they use, then you'll really get in trouble. So it's mild compared to those colleagues who have been fired and were tenured and who've been penalized much worse. The other thing is that, I became a professor very reluctantly. Like when I was applying to grad school, my undergrad professors were like, really? You want to get a PhD? Because I was always making trouble. I was always on the activist end of the spectrum. So they were actually surprised that I wanted to pursue this. And literally the day that I turned in my dissertation, I was still questioning. So I've come into this profession reluctantly, never fully wearing that coat tightly. It's always loose. And I always think of myself as like more like a kindergarten teacher in Professor Drag, I'd much rather be talking to a room full of, kids and teenagers, and I do often. And so I think partly is that I don't identify strongly with this very uptight, insulated, sort of ideal of what it means to be an academic or professor. I have one foot in the academy and always one foot out. I will never turn to these institutions for my sense of self-worth or self or mission. It's like I don't give them my all, and so they can't take anything from me in doing this either.
Wow.
Let's talk a little bit more about institutions themselves, specifically institutions of higher learning. On previous episodes of the podcast, we've talked to, historians like, let's say, Yuval Noah Harari, and, we've talked to people like Ta-Nehisi Coates, and we've talked to, and obviously because of the time we're in, Israel-Palestine comes up, but then many other issues come up, and that one overshadows some of the other conversations that are as prominent in different ways, yes. Right? The one thing I found myself wrestling with over the past few months is how universities have failed, in my opinion, to be the bastion of conversation that moves people in a direction. And what I mean by this is, you remember, Christiana, this was even when we were still at the Daily Show, I didn't like that universities were blocking people like Ben Shapiro from coming to speak, right? And the reason for it was because at the time people were like, no, we don't want him to come. He's a Nazi. We don't want this, blah, blah, blah. So forget how you feel about him or not. The thing I kept on saying was, if a university cannot immunize its students to the ideas of a quote unquote radical person, let's say, depending on how you look at them, then what is the point of a university? Like, I feel like that's supposed to be the boxing ground where we go. It's almost like you want your kids to come back from school and say, hey, today we fought with each other about apartheid, and, we fought about whether or not people should be segregated, and we fought about, what's happening in the Middle East. But in our school, they teach us how to fight because there is a constructive way to do it. And I wonder from your perspective what you think we're missing in higher learning institutions, that now it doesn't seem like the kids or the faculty or the institution itself have the ability to facilitate something that society definitely can't.
Yeah, I think that's, there's layers to it, because I don't necessarily think it's a new phenomenon, that this sort of lack of capacity to engender constructive conversation. I would say that is distinct from the kind of debate bro style of someone like Shapiro, where it is very combative. It's not about us gaining knowledge together, but it's really about me winning.
Oh, it's about owning people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We should be able to wrestle with difficult conversations. And so I think part of, the exceptionalism around Palestine that we've seen in the last year in particular has a lot to do with the idealization of what the university should be, which it hasn't ever been for the vast majority of people, and really the economic underpinnings of these institutions. One person described it as a hedge fund that offers classes. Damn. So to really think about, really this idea that these are this Enlightenment model of learning, and so much of it is profit-driven, and these profits are deeply intertwined with the military-industrial complex, weapons manufacturers. Like, it's not just about disclosing and divesting specifically when it comes to Israel-Palestine, but the fact that these institutions are in bed with the military, so that the calling into question of that entire infrastructure is really like getting to the foundation of what's holding these places up. And so the crackdown that we think, oh, this is so disproportionate. These students are just trying to talk about this or that. It's because what they're talking about is really getting to the foundations of what's holding these institutions up.
We're going to continue this conversation right after this short break. Yeah, I was thinking about it for a whole host of topics. Like, let's say Donald Trump, for instance. I'm often surprised when I meet people who cannot understand why anyone would vote for Donald Trump. I go, you mean you have no, they're like, I just don't get it. How could you? Then I'm like, what do you mean, how could you? You may not agree with the person, but surely you should be able to see that this person is identifying an issue and they see Donald Trump as the solution to this issue, right? So even if you erase your politics, just for a moment, the issue will remain, right? So the factory job is gone. the land is now, barren, there's more pollution, birth rates, you name it. The issue is going to remain regardless of the politics. But I don't know, I find myself constantly in conversations with people who cannot even begin to fathom the possibility of another human seeing the world differently or seeing the same thing but coming to a different conclusion on how to repair it.
Trevor, we the three of us and many others like us, we have to navigate a world that was not built for us. So by a matter of survival, we have to take other people's position. We have to know how we're being seen at all times in order to navigate, to stay out of danger. It's a capacity that we've had to grow. So we're constantly shifting positions. We have language for this, Du Bois called double consciousness, looking through different lenses. And so this is part of how we see the world, is not to only see it through our own lens. And so the fact that people cannot switch perspective is a luxury. It's a privilege that means you can only navigate the world only through your lens. You don't have to take other people's positions. So when it comes to something like the Trump phenomenon, or just thinking about what on the outside appears like hate and vitriol and evil even, part of what we have to reckon with is how from the inside of that perspective, it's not experienced as hate and vitriol. In some cases, it's actually affinity, love. People are bonding over these perspectives and outlooks. And so I remember a few years ago, I saw this really heartbreaking video, this cafeteria scene of kids that I think it was right after he was elected the first time. These kids were chanting, build that wall. And they were pointing at this little Latino boy in the cafeteria, build that wall, build that wall.
Damn.
And so I was thinking about not just those kids, but the parents of those kids who see the building of that wall, the bordering of our world, not as an evil infrastructure, not as motivated by hate, but motivated by a distorted form of love for their own children. So the idea that we have to do this to protect our children, their jobs, their futures, it's really this what Fanon would call like this perverse form of love. I remember reading as a grad student a book called Women in the Klan that was talking about women's very prominent role in the Ku Klux Klan. And, this...
Hashtag diversity, hashtag inclusion.
Exactly.
I just want to acknowledge them.
Thank you. Point. And how, the ethnographer who really infiltrated and went inside these organizations and befriended, in quotes, these women, she writes about how, they had potlucks, they took care of each other's kids, there was so much affinity and love in the inside that then got expressed by who they hated. Like they bonded over who they hated.
Right.
So unless we can understand the kind of internal workings, then we only think of it as what is experienced from the outside. We won't get to the root of the problem, which is people seeking bonds with other human beings, but only being able to do it by having something to be against. And that is not inevitable, right? That's just what the pattern, but it's not inevitable.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned elementary school students, because I thought of little expelled Trevor.
But I must clearly state I should have been expelled.
Okay. So they were right.
For the record. For the record. I was not doing anything worth fighting for. I was an absolute terror. Yeah. And the school was right to expel me. However,
no. I'm going to correct you. The school should have been set up in such a way that would allow you to express your...
I think we're gonna disagree on this, but we'll come back to it.
One thing that struck me about what you said, they should have created a space where Demon Trevor could have thrived. And I would love for you to kind of speak a lot more about like your abolitionist politics, because I think that is the thread that runs through everything you believe, whether it's Israel and Palestine, reproductive justice, how we approach universities. Yeah. You kind of have this worldview that everyone can kind of be redeemed and fixed. And that kind of starts in the childhood arena of how we do elementary school, which I'm really curious about, because I'm currently going through the process of trying to get a little Trevor into elementary school.
Yes.
So I'd love to know more of that, because you have this very compassionate, I think, lens on the Trump voter that people may be surprised that someone like yourself has, because no one thinks about the fact that, oh, these people do love their children, and it's expressed by this antagonist. So I'd love to hear more.
And I think it's different that, like you can understand something and not abide it at the same time. I can understand it, but I also feel very strongly that part of what sometimes gets lost when we talk about abolition is accountability. And so it's not that we can just hurt each other, harm each other, say whatever we want, and just walk through the world sort of unaccountable to each other. So I think hand in hand with this worldview is this idea that we have to build a social fabric that when I hurt you, I'm both going to be accountable to, and I'm going to take action to ensure it doesn't happen again. So when it comes to school and what we would call like the school to prison pipeline and all the ways that we incorporate carceral processes and logics in school, including suspension and detention and all of these things, it's a lack of creativity. It's a lack of thinking, how else could we organize this such that we don't cut off people who have a bad day or are, sort of wrestling with something and can't express why it is, so they act out in this way. There's examples of schools and communities that are experimenting with that. And a lot of it comes down to, again, this prioritization of order and excellence over really play and imagination, and thinking about the fact that oftentimes the first things to go from many schools when there's budget cuts, recess and art, like the very places that people would be able to have self-expression. And even our language of like Black excellence, like as something to strive for, has a huge underside. Going back to what we were joking about, the kind of like Nigerian parents, like there's so much that gets lost and repressed and discounted when we strive for a very narrow form of achievement. There's so many forms of intelligence and genius and creativity that gets shut down that we never get to experience, because we want everyone to sit behind their desks for 8 hours a day, raise their hand, walk in line, and so part of it is to rethink even what we consider education and excellence and achievement, because everyone could ultimately benefit from those changes.
So I love that idea, but I still say I should have been expelled. Okay. No, and I'll tell you why. So I think this is one of the main things that we struggle with in society. Unfortunately, we are always at the mercy of, the average, right? And that's most systems. You're working at the mercy of the average. If a car is too high, it cannot drive into a parking garage, right? If something is too wide, it cannot fit into an aisle, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think of like schools. Schools are a crazy novel concept when you think about it, right? You designed like one building where like 1,000 odd people can come in, and all of them are learning and all of them are coming together, where before it was just like little community, few people, you learn what you can, we do what we can. And we blew this thing out for good and for bad, right? So what I mean by I should have been expelled actually agrees with a lot of what you're saying. I think that you have to expel Trevor from that environment because he's not good for that environment. And so I think sometimes maybe the word expel has a different connotation. I don't think of expelled as like, no, they hurt me. I'm like, no, they kicked me out.
You got a free day.
And let me tell you why I say this.
Trevor, you're so traumatized. We're traumatized African kids. No, you shouldn't have been
Let me tell you why. When you talk about accountability, there is no world where exclusion will not be part of it. It's quite impossible. The mere act of singling a person out is excluding them already. So if you have 10 kids together, you tell them all to keep quiet and draw. One stands up and screams. Even by saying to them, come over here, let me speak to you, you have expelled them from the group and you have excluded them, right? Now, your intention may be, oh, I'm going to make them feel good. I'm going to now encourage them. Hey, maybe you play a little bit more. But even when we create this new space for them that encourages that, they are excluded from the group because they go like, no, I want to be in the drawing group. And you're like, no, but you're not a drawer.
But the teacher having the conversation, like bringing them aside to restore them back to the group.
Yes, but
it's different from bringing them to the side to banish them from the group.
But this is what I don't like.
Restoration?
You guys are trying to brainwash me. This is what I don't like. And I mean it. This is what I think is the problem. Is they go, let us bring them aside and then we'll try and turn them into the drawers. And it's like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying And that's why I agree with you in a large part of what you're saying. And maybe that's why I'm a fan of the upside of AI, if it doesn't kill us all, okay, is because the average needs to be the average. This is how any system works. You just need to find a way for the anomalies to exist. And it's hard to cater to all of them.
Yeah.
But when you exclude somebody, I don't believe in trying to get them back in. No, I mean it. I mean it because they're not of the in. The more you try and put me as Trevor back into that classroom, the more I'm going to be disruptive. And that's why I love imagination. Let me, for the record state,
Yes.
you can go and see me. That's why I love your book. I love your ideas. I'm a big fan of the imagining because I go, imagine a world where you could have expelled Trevor to a school.
Yeah. Okay.
Like they did with Harry Potter and them. Essentially, that's a school for the gifted. You go like, yo, man, you magic kids, you need to be separate. All these other kids, they don't do magic. We're going to put you in a magic school. And then you find community in and amongst magic and magicians. Does that make sense? So I'm saying you should be expelled. And I'm saying what we need to imagine is where we take expelled people to, as opposed to trying to bring them back into the thing.
So a couple things. One is, if the kind of phenomenon you're describing of people being pulled out or expelled, let's say if it was an equal opportunity expelling, where all kids were treated with the same level of scrutiny, et cetera, that would be one conversation. But what you're describing is there's a very strong selection effect in terms of which young people's behavior is deemed so troublesome as to warrant expelling. We have very stark disparities in the percentage of Black students, Native students, et cetera, who are expelled. And if you look country by country, there's another level to this where the rates of punishment that we think of as normal, let's say in South Africa or the US or et cetera, somehow magically other societies have been able to organize their schooling such that they don't have those outcomes. They're not expelled. So what we normalize and think this is the only way we can deal with this issue of the average and gifted, et cetera, somehow it's not universal. That should be a clue for us that it's possible to approach education in a way that's not like a factory, where we're graduating batches of kids. And if you have any little problem with the product, you have to pull it aside. And so partly is to really rethink our model of education that we've inherited as normal and say, what if we could approach things in a way that wasn't so mechanical, that wasn't so rigid from the start, right? And we don't have to, we don't have to come up with scratch because there's other places that are already doing this. One of the examples that I've discussed is how in Finland, like kids, they're not really focused on reading and math, et cetera, until the kids are older. They really take play seriously. So the teachers are like studying the kids' play, and like getting all these lessons.
Which tells you everything, by the way. That's something I've learned from therapists and like great teachers.
Yeah.
Play tells you everything.
Yeah.
Play tells you everything. And so they're really taking it seriously. And what's so kind of paradoxical in a way is that when they administer these universal tests across countries, to rank which country is doing better or worse.
Yeah.
Finland out-tests all the other countries. Like the place that's not focused on testing, that's focused on play and imagination and expression and cooperation and learning how to fight, learning how to compete, productive. It's not it's not kumbaya. It's like, how do we manage conflicts? If you can't practice that as a kid, like, of course you don't have adults that can do that. If you don't learn how to negotiate that when you're younger and you always have a teacher to step in and say, pull this aside, pull Trevor aside, expel him. No, let's figure out how to conflict and fight productively in a way that we can, so part of it is to recognize that spending time and investing in this actually leads to happier, more well-rounded human beings and people who can take tests if you really care about that,
When I was sitting looking at some of your work, there was one question I wanted to ask you, which is extremely controversial. I'm going to say this ahead of time. And I'll preface it with this. I oftentimes think to myself that as human beings, we're searching for solutions to real problems. We very seldom think that we've reached the wrong solution, right? Because we have a good intention. I really believe most human beings do. And in looking at some of your work, your speeches, your writing, and even society itself, even some of the things you're saying now, I found myself wondering, and this applies to America, and then maybe it'll go to other places in a different way because Finland ties in. Do you think that integration was the right move? Like, and now I'm separating two things because I know in America people are like, well, of course, I mean, there was racism and there was segregation. And I go, yeah, no. I'm separating them. Let's separate someone being oppressed and someone not being able to get a job and someone not being able to get a bank loan. Let's take all of those, the negative things away, because I'll put myself out personally and say, I think whether we're talking about gifted kids who are anomalous, let's say, to the norm, whether we are talking about and I mean anything that does not fit into a category. I think part of the reason Finland is able to do it is because, have you been to Finland?
It's very homogenous.
I've been to Finland. You know who's in Finland? Finnish people. That's it. And because they're all Finnish, there's an idea of like, no, we all head in the same direction. We all know what our actions mean. And that's a really powerful thing I've learned in communicating with other people. When I'm in a room with anyone where we start to tie together multiple things. So if I'm in a room with Black people, already there's like an implicit trust because we know what certain actions, words, and vibes mean. And then you're in a room with another African. Already. Now, even if you shout at me, I know what your shout means. The same way an Italian knows what an Italian shout means.
Yeah.
Right? I know I'm prefacing it with a lot because it's a loaded question.
Yes.
But I would love to know if you think integration was the right solution, maybe, on the other side of, America, of civil rights.
Yeah. No, I don't. And I don't think it's actually that controversial when if you understand that segregation and integration weren't the only options. Like those are, within those two options, it may seem like integration is the more progressive. Like, of course, we don't want segregation. But again, when you're being integrated into institutions, into a culture that's a supremacist culture, that's a culture that feeds off of hierarchy, that feeds off of insecurity, anxiety, why are we being integrated into that? And so part of it is to question what we're being invited into. And so again, when you think about the example of Finnish being homogenous, nation states are imagined. The national identity is not something that is, God-given. It's not something that, existed for eternity. These identities were created, maintained, made durable over time. And so part of the stretching our imagination is to recognize all of the things that have been made up, but made to seem immutable, fixed, intrinsic, including our national sort of identities. And so part of it is really like to denaturalize the things that we take for granted as somehow magically operating to make us feel connected to each other and ask ourselves, how else can we be connected to engender this sense of solidarity where what I want for my kids, I also want for my neighbor's kids. I want for the kids who don't speak English. I want for the kids who are just arriving. And so again, to push ourselves, when you think about expanding our imagination, to make it more embracing of seeming differences that are not intrinsic, that are not something that are inevitable, My sister-in-law lives in Japan. And again, it's one of those places that people think, it's homogenous. It's, from the outside, people think everyone is, a shared identity. Yeah. But Japanese of Korean descent, among many other groups, are treated like shit. They're treated, discriminated in so many different areas of life and education and healthcare. When two people go to marry, sometimes their families do a deep genealogical dive to find any Korean descent in the line before they. And so again, we are so creative in creating hierarchies and distinctions out of nothing, Why can't we channel that creativity to actually work in the opposite direction? If we're doing it to maintain hierarchies and division, perhaps we can do it to engender solidarity and connection, right? And I think it's a choice. When we give up our power and think, this is something happening to us, we have to just navigate this crooked system as it is, I think, that only serves those who are currently benefiting from the status quo. And so I always have to ask myself, who does my pessimism serve?
I don't know what to say to that. That's amazing.
This is what I'll say to that is I think a lot of this was inspired by me looking into your story, how you were raised, the many places you were raised, and how I think that influenced your life. The Marshall Islands, for instance, is something, it's funny how sometimes in life you start to experience a story from many different angles at the same time. You know how that happens? Like, it might be a TV show, it might be a historical event. The Marshall Islands for me is because of the Cold War. I've just been inundated with Cold War stuff in life right now. I don't know why. I'm loving it. And now with your story, it ties in a different way because you live there with your family. And you talk about how even growing up, you're in a world where this is an American-owned area now. And the people of that place who've been displaced and affected by the testing and the military base, they still have ideas, they still have dreams, they still have hopes, but it's interesting to see how that's affected you. And I'd love to know how much of you living as an outsider everywhere has sort of made you want to fight for everyone who is an outsider. I resonate with the statement you made about being in and being normal is the luxury, right? It's a luxury to go like, oh, this is the way it is. The more you moved around as a child, the more you're like, oh, wow, there is no normal and I have to rediscover the normal every single time. So was there like one moment and one place you moved to as a child that stirred this up inside you? Or where do you think it came from?
It was definitely a recurring theme. It was that kind of thing where, again, that distance between how I'm being perceived and how I'm experiencing the world. And so although on one level, I was definitely an outsider in all of these places, at the same time, I carried home within me. I didn't need other people to make me feel, oh, like you belong. It's like, I remember listening to Lupita on the show and she's talking about, I belong wherever I am, this is what, and I really resonated with that. It's like when you're not looking for it from the outside, you cultivate it within. No one can shake it. No one can take it from you. And at the same time, being in all those places really gave me a keen sense that as human beings, like what we think of as our world, this is the way things are. I can get on a plane and move with my family, into a completely different, universe. And it's, all of the things that I took for granted in one place are different, whether it's racial classifications, whether it's who's on top, who's considered beautiful or not, like you had a great conversation about weight, like thinness is not fetishized everywhere in the world, And so that just tells us, oh, this thing that we think of as universal and inevitable, in a different context, there's a whole different set of, these parallel realities in a way. And if I was a sci-fi nerd starting at about a teenager, moving to the Marshall Islands, like only thing being able to watch is Star Trek and realizing, we are very adept at creating these parallel universes. And part of it is to be able to step in and out and see, okay, if this is not working for us in this reality that we currently live, why don't we change it? Why don't we, work with other, and it's not like we have to start from scratch. Let me show you. I'll peek into this other reality and show you they're doing something completely different with education or with accountability and safety or with healthcare. And so, part of it is not to get so locked into one way of perceiving things. And I think that childhood of having to move every 5 or 6 years was the classroom that I needed to be able to do that.
Don't go anywhere, because we got more What Now after this.
So Trevor over here is a real AI enthusiast, and I am a technophobe. Like, I'm a Luddite. He talks a lot about the transformative possibilities of AI. I'm terrified. Now, I know...
And also the reality... if you even rewind this exact conversation...
No, it's grounded. But, because he's just an optimist in nature, he has a very optimistic view of AI. Yeah. And I know your work with the new Gym Code, you speak a lot about racist robots and all of these things. I don't want you to feed into my technophobia. I want you to describe this world, if we used our imagination to its fullness. What could AI perhaps do for us that's really good?
I think that there are many different types of AI. And the one that people often think about is artificial intelligence. That's the one that people are excited about. That's the one getting all the funding, all the hype. Yeah. And my little soapbox is to say that there are other types of AI that we need to be prioritizing, investing in, not necessarily to get rid of the first kind, the artificial kind, completely, but to really put it in its place. I personally think it's getting too much space, attention, investment as it is. And so ancestral intelligence is one thing that I think of as an important type of AI that has to do with collective wisdom, know-how, the insights and experiences of people who have to learn how to navigate the underside of society, who are constantly buried under the rubble of so-called progress. So there's the kinds of knowledges that grow in that rubble that are often discounted as backwards, as no longer needed, as, in the past, that I think we need to center. The other type of AI is abundant imagination. Like, again, going back to thinking about what often the artificial type of AI is displacing our ability to actually use our imaginations and creativity rather than just plugging in prompts and getting the outputs. The other thing is that what appears so efficient and convenient and magical about artificial intelligence hides the fact that there are people behind these screens that are doing the grunt work to make these systems work. And this labor is outsourced to places like Kenya, to places like the Philippines, in which workers are there doing the content moderation, doing the work that on our end seems like, wow, this is just a sentient being. No, there are armies of laborers they're making these systems go, and they're being mistreated. They're having mental health toll because they're often seeing the worst of the worst in order to clean these systems and the internet. So anyone who is a proponent of AI, the first kind, artificial, they need to have an answer or have a reckoning with the human dimensions, the human costs, the labor, and also the environmental costs of these systems, the energy, the water usage to simply train one algorithm. At one point, a study at MIT said it was equivalent to the lifespan of 5 cars. So it's not to say you have to be against it, but you need to reckon with the costs of creating these systems, the human, the environmental, in a way that's taken seriously.
Yeah, I think that's the difficulty with AI, right? Is, I've heard some people say AI is like the atom bomb. When we made the atom bomb, we didn't consider all the things. I disagree with that for a few reasons. One, because the atom bomb could not think or create or do, right? And I use think in inverted commas, okay? It could not generate, is what I mean. And more importantly, the atom bomb had only one use. Do you know what I mean? Even when they were making it, they weren't like, and it'll help you cook your food. No. Everyone knew what the bomb was for. There was no other purpose. There was no other intention. The difficulty with AI is that we have something that puts us on the precipice of everything that we haven't even imagined, right? So here's a simple example, and I credit you, Christiana, with this. Like, you're the person who came into my life kicking down doors, telling me to consider women's health more and more and more and more. Do you know what I mean? Like, just kicking down my door at the Daily Show and being like, do you know what it is to be a woman? Do you know the pain?
Endometriosis.
Yes, endometriosis. Do you know that? And I was like, oh man, I got to pay attention to this stuff. Like, Christiana's really, but in a good way, because you're my friend,
Exactly.
And so I think of the conversations I've had with a professor at Johns Hopkins who has shown me the AI that they use to detect breast cancer in women long before it would have ever been humanly possible to detect it. And sometimes, even more importantly, to prevent false positives. Do you know how many women are getting mastectomies, but they don't have any type of cancer? And it's like, well, thanks for playing, folks. Here's the debt. Here's your healthcare bill. And you actually didn't have this thing. I look at that just in one space, right? I look at it in the world of education. A teacher is a finite resource. AI is the first thing we've seen where you could genuinely have a teacher for your child, and it isn't tied to the money that your child has, right? And I know some people are like, oh, but it's still out of reach. It is in many ways. It is. But the average cost for processing a transaction, even in the conversations we've had since 2022, has gone down 95%, just cost-wise. So the accessibility has accelerated. And the one thing that I keep grappling with is this. Yes, we know that it's using up energy, because it is. It is. But it is also the thing that has helped data centers optimize how much energy they use. And so data centers that before were just like these little hubs, these little ovens cooking up all of our cloud information, those data centers can save like up to like 25, 30% of their energy bill. So it's this weird situation where, you have something that you're making and you have to make the thing to try and help you fix the thing. And finding that balance is where I go, that's the real... But the reason I'm optimistic about it is because it has another use. It has a good purpose. It has and that doesn't discount the other things.
Yeah.
And one last thing I'll say, I'd love to know what you think about this, Ruel, because I know you are a techie like me, is the thing I love about AI or tech in general is that it's bustable, which is not a word, but it's like you can bust it. Okay? If you say to me as Trevor, I'm going to put you in front of a judge, and this judge is going to rule on your life. If I go, this judge was biased, the judge goes, no, I wasn't biased. We talk about we had this back in the day and we still see these, you type an image, black person on the internet. Oftentimes the image that'll come up, black man, it'll be a guy, mugshot, dangerous looking,
or
etc.
a chimpanzee.
Yes. And then you go, white man, and it'll show you an Ivy League, like Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, unlike humans, you can actually find that and see it and code against it. You cannot with humans. I cannot prove it with a human. We've lived in a world for so long where we've gone, you discriminate. And the person's like, no, I do not. And we're like, all right, well, fun conversation. Thanks for playing.
Are you saying AI can't gaslight us?
No. I'm saying we can because we have data now. And the data, I'm not saying the world becomes perfect, but I'm saying it becomes a lot easier to get to a more perfect place when the thing that we're using is itself not personal and then has data that we can work off of. And that's why I'm hopeful.
Okay.
I'm not a person who's like, this is going to be the best thing ever. I'm saying there are many places it could be better.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful because we can catch it when it's not, in a way that with humans, we just flat out could not.
Yes.
Because you couldn't prove it.
And I do think that one of the ways that I think of these technologies as useful is, as Trevor described, as a mirror.
Yes.
But that presumes that people are motivated by data and facts and information, like by that seeing is believing. And we know through studies that have presented hard data to people to show them this disparity exists, this inequality exists. Seeing that information or data often has them double down on whatever their priors were. There was a study out of Stanford a few years ago. They presented data on incarceration to white Americans in San Francisco and New York. Said, look at these Black people being warehoused at disproportionate rates in our jails and prisons. And when they were exposed to the data, they became more supportive of the policies that were creating that effect. Stop and frisk in New York, 3 strikes law in California. And so partly is to reckon with, yes, these systems can be a reflection of society, but the facts alone will not save us. People are not simply motivated by information, but by stories. Stories. But then when it comes to the examples you offered, which I think are really important, whether in healthcare, you talked about the breast cancer screening, or in education, more tailored learning. There are, again, studies that are showing that many of these systems are just reproducing and hiding existing problems in these institutions or in these industries. In healthcare, there was an audit a few years ago where they looked at a widely used healthcare algorithm that was discriminating against Black patients because it was trained on data in which doctors were not offering adequate services and time to their Black patients.
Right.
So the smarter the algorithms get, the more racist and sexist they often become. Like intelligence is like learning.
Well,
this is how you human
become.
Yeah, not inevitably.
I think that's the key distinction for me.
Not inevitable. So there's another counter example, and this is a positive one, I think, that sort of lends itself to your optimism, is that a group of researchers said, okay, we understand this phenomenon, it's getting reproduced in these systems. So what they did was trained AI, not on doctors, the official medical reports, but they trained the system to predict what a patient would say about their own experience of pain. So the AI's intelligence was based on patients' own self-reports.
Oh, wow.
So it didn't have that anti-Black bias that is embedded in those doctors' reports. It was not only more accurate, but less biased. So this is the lesson. It matters where we go looking for the data, the knowledge that we're training these systems on. If we only train them on the official records or the official data without being more creative and thinking, what is being left out? What perspectives aren't in the official record that we need to actually train these systems on? Then in this case, the embodied knowledge of patients who know what they're feeling and whose pain is often discounted. We have to turn our attention and be more creative about, again, what even counts as knowledge. And so many of the things in education are trying to predict whether students are going to graduate or be successful or whether they're at risk, and they're reproducing the categories. Like if I say, guess which students are deemed higher risk by these AI systems.
Right.
You know who that's going to be. In my view, rather than pointing it to the students, let's figure out which adults are creating risks for these students. Let's train the AI to figure out which fields and departments are creating a hostile environment for these young people. But we never turn the lens to those who actually have the power to shape the experience. We always look at the most vulnerable and label them and stigmatize them.
Can I tell you? That's just an amazing one to just jump in on. Can you imagine? Because I love this idea now. Imagine if we designed a system, which is not very hard.
No.
And you actually looked at judges. Actually, if someone goes to this judge, they have a higher chance of going back into the system. And then I love this because then you shift the blame.
Yeah,
so you're like, actually, there are 10 judges. These 3, with their sentencing, we've noticed that the people actually don't come back into the system, and we look at what their sentencing is, and you're like, oh, these judges seem to look at you as a human. They're more compassionate. They give you, maybe they do, as you said, they hold you accountable, but they don't think of the most punitive measure, et cetera, so they're still a judge. Then we look at another group and we're like, hey, you guys on the other end, these 3, we've noticed that everyone that you incarcerate, your rate has the highest rate of recidivism. So actually, we don't think you're good for the system because you don't seem to be doing the thing that the other judges are doing. And I love that idea. I really love that idea.
It's amazing.
And so that's why I say I think we agree on a lot of it, because I do like that you can do that. So for instance, here's a simple example. When we talk about AI, we talk about this big thing, this massive thing. But going to some of the things we've spoken about in this conversation, the UAE is building their own. And so they have one that is going to be trained on whether it's religion in the Middle East, whether it's the histories in the Middle East, the cultures but their data set is going to be more focused on their world. And many people who work in the field have said the future is not going to be one grand AI. In fact, if you look at most of the data, AGI looks like it's a scam that's just getting people to put more money in, right?
Yeah.
The real thing that it looks like, which this is what I'm hopeful for and optimistic about, is not that there is an AI. It is more that every country, for instance, will be able to have its AI. Every community will be able to have its AI. So you can go, oh, I'm Nigerian, I'm Igbo, I'm this, I'm going to put all these pieces together, and my AI within the context of my world is able to give me everything that I need because it has the context of who I am and who my people have been. And I think that, for me, is like one of the most magical ideas of context contributing to culture. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I get what but you know me. I'm just scared of the machines.
By the way, what's your favorite tech? Are you still a techie, or did you switch it out for all books? You just went full books?
No,
because I know you have a lot of books.
I'm still hybrid. I'm hybrid. Yeah, I don't know what I would say. I'll tell you. I just came out of hosted a 2-day VR exhibit. I wasn't really for a VR. I've written about it, of how it's manipulated and used for like trauma porn, etc. But I'm collaborating with an amazing team that's working on a project called Phoenix of Gaza. It's a VR exhibit that has footage from the last few years in Gaza before the devastation, many cultural everyday activities, weddings, sewing groups, children playing, people doing sharing poetry, and also now in the aftermath of this genocide. And so this is where you enter the world. It's very different from seeing something on film or on screen. Like the kids are looking at you eye to eye, like you're standing over the shoulder of a teenager reciting poetry passionately.
Damn.
You're with a little boy on a skateboard going on the beach. He has the camera and you're riding with him. And so this experience of entering this world is one thing, but it's the fact that it's created by and for Palestinians. And I think it matters who's creating these technologies with what values and goals in mind. Like, the stories that they're telling are about preservation. It's about rebuilding. It's about having now the footage of churches that have been demolished, mosques that have been demolished, but having the architecture there, in this 360 camera, with the idea that we are going to go home and we are going to rebuild this. And so the Phoenix of Gaza XR project is one of the few, of these kind of emerging technology projects that I think of as truly liberatory, in that the goal is to, engender self-determination and cultural preservation and a right to return.
I've been wrestling with this idea, and some of it has been inspired by conversations, some of it has just been reading, learning, etc., about how much responsibility everybody bears for how they frame every single conversation they have, right? And the reason I think about it is because, in our conversation, we've touched on ideas of intention, culture, power, perception, all of these things. And I can't help but think about Israel, Palestine, and how when I've sat down with people who are pro-Israel, Israeli, or Jewish and Jewish American, what's been interesting to me is seeing how different or how differently people are hearing the same thing. Do you know what I mean? So here's a simple one, not the simple issue, but like just an example. There's a chant that people will often say, from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. For anyone I know who's Palestinian, when I've asked them, what does that chant mean? They say, well, we want freedom for all our people, not just in Gaza, but from the West Bank. We want freedom for everyone.
From the River Jordan to the
from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea. We want our freedom, and that's what we chant. And then when I've spoken to my friends who are Jewish or Israeli maybe, and not even, religious Jew or whatever, but Jewish, they go, no, this is a chant of genocide. They're saying from the river to the sea, they're going to cleanse us. What stands in the way of the river and the sea? It's Israel. And I can't help but have compassion for anyone I speak to in this, because it in some ways, like in South Africa, we've had stories like this where there was a struggle song and a chant that was sung by Black people who were fighting against an apartheid government. And then now that song, some people feel like targets them if they are a white person who's a farmer in the country. And then the person singing it goes like, no, it's not about that. And I couldn't help but think about like how many times Nelson Mandela would give a speech. And at times I would think it was unnecessary, but he would go like, I am not for the oppression of Black people. And he's like, and I'm against the oppression of white people. And I'll be like, well, that's an unnecessary, why would you need to say? I used to think that all the time when I'd hear it.
Yeah.
And then now I find myself wondering, how much burden should we bear? Like, how much should we be cognizant of how we are saying what we are saying? Because the fights are still going to happen. But we almost want the most clarity to be fighting about the thing we actually, or arguing or discussing the thing we actually need to be discussing. Does this make sense? Because you would think it's not necessary for Nelson Mandela to say that he does not want white people to be oppressed. But then you realize that if Black Lives Matter is a good example, and all these things. If you do not say that at times, and even if you do, because he was labeled a terrorist, let's not forget that. There are some people who go, wait, you don't want Black oppression, so what about white oppression? And it's amazing to me that he thought about, there was no social media. Nelson Mandela wasn't on Facebook, this was long before this time, but he intuitively knew that he has to say, I don't want Black people to be oppressed. However, this does not mean that I want white people to be oppressed either. I'm against all oppression. And so I'd love to know,
I love that, because you can interpret that as, him sort of pacifying or conceding to this sort of white fragility, let's say. But you could also understand it going back to how we started the conversation about, sort of what we're being integrated into, is that oftentimes we've seen when an oppressed group gets power, they reproduce the same forms of domination that they were once resisting. And so part of it is the fact that his historical imagination is so keen that he knows that it's not out of bounds to think that, oh, if this is all you've known, this is how you've seen power exercised, that's all you've known, then once you seize it, you are very likely going to mimic or reproduce exactly what you were against. And so part of it is really to think about, not just who is doing the action or saying the words, but really what are the logics behind it. And so language, it is a kind of technology in that way that can be wielded in various ways. My own sort of approach is really to try to stay keenly attuned to those who are, oppressed in any situation and thinking about, language from that perspective. I just came from a conference where after I gave my talk, there was a backlash because people, I guess, don't like using the word genocide to describe what's happening to Palestinians. And so I said, but I also had a slide there about caste and caste hierarchies. I was born in India, and there's an image that I show of Dalit protesters saying caste is evil. And I said, upper caste people who see that, I'm sure that makes them very uncomfortable. They're opposed to it. I talk about how religion is used to naturalize caste and make it seem like it's ancient and inevitable and cultural, right? And so I said, the difference is those people, the upper caste who might be opposed to me showing that and talking about that, they don't currently have the power to impose their worldview on me. And I think it's a kind of hubris and it's a kind of supremacist thinking that you can tell me or tell an oppressed group how they can talk about their own oppression. That is itself a symptom of supremacist thinking and hubris that I think people need to reflect on themselves.
No, and I agree with that. But I think even in trying to channel, let's say, an argument someone might have, they would go, yes, but you are not in that situation. So I'm not telling them how to say it. I'm saying to you as the person who's not in the situation that your language is dangerous. Does this make sense?
Yeah, no, I completely understand.
And that's this. I mean this when I say I wrestle.
I think it's a tool for censorship, though.
So it's interesting you say this, because
that's how I feel.
I think about it in many
because
different...
I can't tell them how to articulate their experience.
Exactly.
Do you understand? Like, if we invert that,
it's exactly.
If we say, well, I believe it's a genocide, this is a chant that I choose to use as an ally.
Yeah.
If I then in turn say, well, your language is problematic and it's insulting to me, I'm not allowed to do that. And like, my view is, it's like, if we really do have free speech, if we have freedom of thought and expression and views, everything is fair game. My favorite saying, racists have outlets too. It's the fact that like people should be free to say what they like, and I resent that policing instinctively on either side.
It tells you a lot about power. Who can impose their language on others? Who can get people fired for using certain language or saying certain things?
Whether it's the word genocide or a chant.
No, but actually I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think that's a different thing that I'm speaking to.
Okay, what are you speaking to?
No, because I think so many of these things overlap, Like it's the Venn diagram again of issues. Yeah. So for instance, to play devil's advocate or whatever, there are many conservative people in America who have said, it's interesting how if that person, a person who is black, gay, trans, whatever, if they say something about me or my group or whatever, they can say it. But if I say something, even questioning, I just wonder, like, should a trans child be converted at this age? I am then labeled as transphobe and I'm fired from my job. And and it's exactly what you're saying, by the way. They go, but I was not trying to be inflammatory. I was trying to ask a question. And the person goes, no, by even asking that question, you are enabling the idea. And they go like, whoa, what are you doing to me? And then their job goes, hey, we have to let you go because you're transphobic.
But I've always kind of thought that's a straw man argument, just because if we look at the state of society today and who has actual power, these people aren't talking about freedom of speech. We know people are free to say what they say. But the people who bear the most consequences, I think, seem to be the most radical, especially if we think about it.
People who bear the most consequences?
The brunt of the consequences have the more radical view.
Which I think is normal in a society.
Right now, it's very hard to find a professor on probation for being pro-Israel. Let's be clear. In this moment in time...
Now, that's why I'm saying... That's why I'm saying...
on probation for being pro-Palestine. And it's the chance of the people who are aligned with Palestine who are being censored and saying, making me uncomfortable.
Right. So you see, on that part, I'm saying that is clearer to me.
Yeah.
Right? Because whether we like it or not, throughout history, those who have power have used their power to protect themselves. And I mean, this seems like a natural human inclination. Like, it would be weird for a person with power to not use it. You'd be a very interesting type of person I'd love to meet. Please send us an email so we can talk to you on the podcast. No, I'm speaking to something different. Like, Ruha, I'd love to know, even from your experiences, were there moments where you were able to either facilitate or notice a breakthrough in the communication that the kids on campus were having with each other? That's what I'm talking more about.
Okay.
The ramifications of your speech are a separate issue.
Okay.
And who gets to decide is a separate issue. I'm just talking about with us as people.
Yeah.
When we say something and how we say it, how much responsibility do we bear to clarify? And then also, because you've been in like literally the hotbed of it in America in many ways, have you seen anything that was a glimpse of hope? Have you seen a conversation or a you know, an idea where you went, oh wow, as a sociologist, you know, as a MacArthur genius, you were even surprised by the effect that it had?
I would say the most heartening and the most surprise is the wrong word, but the breakthrough that you might say I've observed is not about this kind of liberal speech exchange where we understand the other person's perspective, but it's been seeing specifically how Jewish students have stood with many others in terms of being against genocide. And so that it doesn't break down neatly along identity lines, that they are able to understand not despite their Jewishness, but because of their Jewishness, they're able to articulate how their values as Jews actually motivates their understanding that somehow this radical notion that all life is sacred, that their well-being, their security should not be at the expense of anyone else. Like, that to me has been the most heartening way in which things are not reduced to identity, and they don't simply live at the realm of speech, but at the realm of action. Like, people actually, Jewish students putting their own, their own status and well-being on the line in order to stand in solidarity. So I would point to that as a place where, we're breaking old patterns.
Right. I often wonder to myself, I wrote this thought down. It applies to everything. The world of tech, Ruha. When I've read your work, talking about who designs the tech that shapes our lives. There was a professor who's really well acclaimed, or like a researcher scientist, and he said, and I paraphrase, like, the problem with having women in the lab is that they're distracting and they're beautiful and you fall in love with them and they make, and it was just like, well, these ladies, I can't think about the test tubes when I'm thinking of fallopian tubes. It was like that kind of vibe,
Yes.
And I was listening to that, and obviously, rightly so, there was like a straight up backlash.
Yes.
Like, all women who are scientists were like, what? So we're not supposed to be in a lab because of this? But I found myself thinking about how every group is affected by another group in some way, shape, or form. And to your point of imagination, can we imagine other ways to do the thing, or is homogeny and sameness the only way to achieve it? Right? Because I think of, like, let's say schools at the lowest level, at the lowest, like, even before sort of like people are formed, you see these little kids where they show that if girls are in a class with boys, they perform less.
Oh yeah, I'm very pro girls' school.
Yeah, you are.
I'm a product of a girls' school.
And so I don't know what I found myself thinking about is there something to be said to the idea of, like, creating more of as opposed to trying to jam everybody more in? Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I know someone might hear me say this and go like, what? So you're saying we should have like a women-only lab? Maybe is what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't know, by the way. I'm just saying, like, what would happen?
Yeah.
Because that guy's not wrong. Like, even in war.
But Trevor, it's going to be tough for you mixed race people, isn't it?
Don't worry about us.
Look at my kids.
Don't worry about us.
Dominican, Nigerian, Puerto Rican, Brazilian, British, and American passports. They're going to be the only ones in the lab.
Yes, but can I tell you something? And I'll tell you, I've believed in this for a long time. I still do. I believe adversity is your friend if you're taught to deal with it. I talk to you all the time about anti-fragility as opposed to just resilience. I remember having a conversation with a group of, like, former military, I don't know where they served and how. I think it was even from different countries. And they talked about how they were less efficient and less able to do their jobs if they were serving with women. And not in like, these people weren't being shitty, by the way. They just gave me a new perspective, you know? They weren't like, women shouldn't be in the military. They were like, can I be honest with you? When I'm in a gunfight and I'm surrounded by guys, I just think about winning the gunfight. When I'm in a gunfight and there's a woman in the battalion, I'm like, damn, we got to make sure she's also, because when we're picking up the backpacks and we're running and then I'm thinking of her, the weight that she's carrying. And some of it, I know some of it will tap into like patriarchy. Some of it will tap into, but some of it also taps into the very real thing that human beings have, where a mother will care more for a child than she will for an adult. You know what I mean? And where like instinctively as people, sometimes we act differently in an environment. And so I just wonder, even for you, talking about the sisterhood, what do you think is so important about finding spaces where people who are alike can come together without those spaces being exclusionary? Because it's a paradox.
Yeah. And so I think, you know, it's like when I talk about the sisterhood, it's always with an eye to what often gets assumed about the sisterhood. For me, the value of bringing together everyone that seems the same on one level is that you immediately realize how different you are. So for me, the great value of my Spelman education is I realized how much difference and hierarchy there is among Black women, whether it's because of skin tone, region, where you're born, your class, your religion, your sexuality. And so the value is to actually undo the notion that we're all alike and that you actually get to wrestle deeply with the fault lines that you often don't have to get to do in predominantly white settings because you have to band together. And so the value of it is not to relish in some idealized notion of shared identity, but to actually say, crap, like we have all of these issues that we never ever get to deal with because we always have to have this false sense of unity and sameness, right?
Yes,
and so
sameness,
there is definitely a function for that.
I would love to know, like, you know, I know it's a big thing, but from yourself personally, and then what you see hopefully unfolding or what you see realistically unfolding in the landscape of education.
So I'm terrible at prognostication and prediction, in part because that's what
a
AI.
Real sociologist. Have you noticed none of them do it? By the way?
like, I'm not doing it.
But I mean, and going back
No,
to
I love
AI,
it. I love it.
But it's also like that's the whole, like so much of AI is about prediction, and it closes off possibilities in my view, like closes off, you know, futures when we try to predict everything. And so part of it is like, you know, we think about these institutions, what we've been experiencing, I think is like pulling back the curtain on what was already there to begin with. It just has become more manifest, like these interests of big donors, for example. There was always there manipulating things behind the scenes, but now it's come to stark light because of the protests. So I feel like in this moment, it's an opportunity to be truthful about what these institutions are about, what our own complicities and obligations are, and to act on those truths rather than feeling disillusioned or we're going backwards somehow. Really thinking about who we join in community with to actually build the world. And the world is not some grand thing, but like the micro worlds, the reality that we have to function in. And I would say one thing that gives me hope is that I'm in a department within a larger institution that is acting on different values, where we're not trying to be stars, but we're trying to cultivate a constellation, a community in which we're in this together. And so I feel tangibly that it's possible to do things differently, even if the dominant culture of whatever industry or institution we're in is moving in one direction. We have the power, especially when we band together and we work together, to actually create a different way of doing things, perhaps like a seed that can grow and become a model for something that we want to develop over time.
Wow. That's amazing.
No.
From saying maybe you won't have something and then you had it all.
I know.
Ruha, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where your journey takes you. We'll be following keenly, reading the books, both. Listening to what you say, and hopefully you'll come and join us again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, both of you.
No,
thank
you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Bye.